And all right, ladies and gents, here we are, do or die between two greats. We have TaToH versus TheViper, and it is Khmer against the Saracens. We speculated on this. There was a lot of conversation what civilizations would be chosen here. This is Viper's top priority pick, and then we have TaToH with a top priority pick as well. TaToH down here towards the south, and Viper in the north, T-West.
Yeah, so you look at this matchup and think the Khmer probably have the better eco with their farmers, and it's going to be a question then, how do you apply that eco to deal with the camels from the Saracens? And maybe Scorpions, as we talked about, could be the answer there. Yeah,
I think Saracens maybe have the better peak here, but it might be a little bit difficult to get there if the game gets messy, and that's going to be Viper's priority. The really efficient farms with the Khmer, and just the ability to open quickly by skipping a barracks is really helpful. So right off the bat, I'm thinking Viper needs to be aggressive. Now, you look at this map, it feels as though Viper and TaToH's map slightly more open than some of the other outcrops generations I've seen. It's always tiny woodlines like this, but as you just look around, especially the front of Viper's base, just not as much crazy wall potential, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even TaToH's base, too, you have both of those goals kind of forward. Viper's goals at least are more towards the back, so even if he can't wall, he can still keep them somewhat safe by the TC.
Yeah.
TaToH, I worry a bit about one of those goals not being accessible when it's so far forward.
Yeah, and then long term, the players will need to expand to the sides, where I think both players have their scouts already looking for cows that will be out there. There's the scout from TaToH. He's on the right. I think Viper's scout is actually over on the left now. And maybe it's just a, yeah. And actually, look at how he starts scouting closer to where TaToH will be. Or maybe he's just made his way over there. So we've seen games where people would just push their deer, but maps like this, they have some reasons to have your scouts looking elsewhere, which is a nice change. And
right, you want to pick up as many of those cows in those valleys that you can to just buff your economy in the long run. That's why, I was kind of thinking maybe we've seen Tatars on this map. Maybe Rayton's could be a potential at some point.
Yep.
And we were thinking maybe mines could be a civ too, because the longer lasting cows could be great for them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think I'm still very curious where Viper's planning Mayans. Maybe he was thinking about using Mayans here, but this is a civilization that has a much faster start than the Mayans, and TaToH should know that here. So basically, the Saracens, they have no bonuses at play for quite a long time. Until they first drop the market, they're not using any crazy bonuses, and so in Viper's case, I guess he may delay farms, but the fact that he can just open stable right off the bat should give him an edge. And if Viper can have that killer instinct here, it could get off to a fast start here in this series.
Yeah, there's that stable right away. And I think it's important for Viper throughout the entire game to keep it messy and keep the raids coming in, because if you think about their late game tech trees, if you can afford everything, Saracens have great camels, even great siege onagers to counter the Scorpions. Viper needs to make sure that TaToH just never has an opportunity to add in those techs.
Yeah, I think the Scorpions also thrive in messy games because Scorpions are slow, but if you get enough of them patrolling around the different areas, Khmer Scorpions can melt armies, so you're just not going to... You don't want a situation where it's very easy for TaToH to know where the fights are going to happen. And TaToH against any other civ would have maybe attacked that villager, but Khmer villagers can hop inside houses, so doesn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's tempting, but I mean, even against any other civ, Viper might just wall a vill.
Yeah, true.
It's Viper.
Yep, true. A lot of respect for each other there. Wall's coming up for TaToH. He also has a stable. Now, some people consider it a weakness that you can skip the barracks, because in a scout war you might need spearmen, and Viper doesn't have that option, but it's only a weakness if he's not walled, and he is working on walling. TaToH had his spearmen over to the left side here because he was almost going to complete the wall here, and Viper just disrupts him a little bit, but I liking what Viper's doing. Viper is going house walls because he's up against Saracens and he's respecting the eventual crossbow switch. If you were to just rely on palisades, the Saracen archers would break through them so much faster. Really smart from Viper. You'll notice the houses are always at the furthest part. Like the palisades that are there, that's closer because he can reinforce that.
He can re-wall behind the palisades much more easily, and he has more closer villagers to those palisades if he needs to get the walls quickly. And the far walls of the houses are much farther away from any of his walling villagers.
I have to say, though, I'm surprised Viper's pulling his scouts back right now. It almost feels like he doesn't feel he can get through into TaToH's base, so he wants to play safe here. The double gate almost makes me think that he believes TaToH's army's on the way to his base, but he's misreading the situation. TaToH's doing the same thing. TaToH also just has his army patrolling at home. But in my eyes, the Khmer players should have been more aggressive here than Viper has been.
Yeah, and the double gates are basically the opposite of what you said with the houses. Crossbows go through them, especially from the Saracens, and 1 or 2 volleys of arrows.
Yeah. And Viper should know that once TaToH gets the market, things get dangerous. Look at TaToH's food count right now. He sold 300 wood and 200 stone and bought 500 food with that, or 400 food, excuse me. His resources are looking crazy to go Castle Age. And
well, I mean, if there's one player who knows how to play the Saracens, it's TaToH, right?
Yeah.
How many tournaments have we seen him play Saracens? And he's the most creative player with using the market.
I've seen that be a heavy priority ban for a lot of people against TaToH for that reason, because he's so good with them.
Right, I mean, two civs that TaToH had in his draft, Saracens and Byzantines, those are very TaToH-like civs.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Viper is worried now. Look at the score difference. That might actually tell me that the opponent's clicked up. And TaToH will. Watch the score dip, bottom right here. Okay, so it dips by 100. Yeah, Viper should recognize that Castle Age should be on the way now.
What you recognize with the score is first the market usage, and then the click up.
Yeah. And they're both making similar amounts of army too. So what Viper could think because of the score difference is that maybe TaToH hasn't scouted as much, because that does contribute to it. But it's pretty uncommon there's that much of a lead for a player unless one player's on the way to Castle Age. But
yeah.
This is so fast. Is he even going to be able to do anything with Castle Age? He's got 4 on food, 5 on gold, 19 on wood. It's not like he's going to have this crazy army.
No, it's not like he has stone where he can add TCs and boom, he sold the stone and he's adding in more buildings now. So he's going to have to go forward and try to make something happen.
I see an archery range now. And so this tells me Cav Archers is likely to play. It would make a ton of sense to just make Foot Archers now because you're so far away and the crossbow upgrade's kind of expensive. So at least 1 range Cav Archers. Typically, though, if you're going Cav Archers, it's going to be more than 1 range.
Typically, you see 2 or 3 ranges at least.
Yeah. And there's, well, he's got time, obviously. And he may build it, just mixing in some farms. Attacking the gate right now. Viper's got some archers in that archer range, but he's just being patient with it right now, which I don't mind. He moves out. TaToH's likely to see that.
And there's a second range. And when you go up this fast, you can afford maybe 2 ranges, but you're not going to have that stable for Bloodlands and Husbandry right away.
Man, TaToH...
Oh, he already has the stable from the scouts. Never mind.
Yeah, TaToH is going to... he's going to need some gold here. And there's only 4 tiles in his base. The 2 tiles we talked about are more towards the front. So already, he's taken quite a bit of gold from that. And so this eventually could become kind of awkward. So TaToH might want to use this moment. Because this, to me, doesn't feel like a position where he's going to make enough army to kill Viper. I think he might use this army almost as an escort to get some villagers over to the side and build a TC.
Yeah, and remember, Viper, if he wants TCs on the bottom areas, he has to venture pretty far from his base, too. The mobility of the Cav Archers can help secure that.
Yeah. Now, Cav Archers are coming out from TaToH. Only fletching on the way. Bodkin Arrow doesn't feel very realistic. Neither does Bowsaw. And Viper's situation, he's going to be able to afford everything when he makes it to Castle Age. But I like this from Viper. Obviously, this could be awkward for him. But if he's able to somehow weather the storm here, he will have crossbowmen, which feels so needed anytime you're up against the Saracens. If you want to play into knights at all, you can only do so if you have some crossbowmen mixed in.
Right, those camels are just so strong for the Saracens with all that HP they have.
Viper's still 1 range. I just saw the second one dropped. He should have an idea of what TaToH's committing to now. He saw Cav Archers, so that shouldn't be a surprise. Slightly paranoid is Viper about his gold situation because it's right by that wall.
Yeah, both of his golds are by the walls, so both of the golds are rangeable by Cav Archers if TaToH's able to get over there.
I just wonder, will TaToH continue to pile on the aggression here? Will he squeeze in Bodkin Arrow? He's still producing out of both of those ranges. He's up to 7 Cav Archers now. Feels like there's potential to this, especially if Bodkin comes in before Viper gets any of his upgrades. Viper's 30 seconds away from Castle Age, and there's Bodkin Arrow now for TaToH.
Yeah. And we see now those house walls you had mentioned earlier, keeping that army out where Palisades might have been a bit trickier.
Yeah, true. Now TaToH's going to hit different sides. I love the tiny details. Viper using the scouts elsewhere. That could eventually play a role. We'll keep an eye on that. The gate on the front for Viper should be going down to these Cav Archers.
But TaToH's spreading the Cav Archers out. He's trying to find different gold mines or wood lines he can hit. If he's not going to centralize all of them, he's not going to be able to break through a wall.
Yep, now Viper knows that he needs the upgrades. Crossbow and Bodkin on the way.
And University for ballistics for Viper right away. TaToH's not going to be able to afford ballistics anytime soon.
And the thing is, the Cav Archers, they have more mobility, but there's not a massive HP lead until Bloodlines comes in. So Viper loses a Vil. That's our first death of the game. and the scouts from TaToH will run in and die as well. But I think Viper should be reasonably okay here if he gets crossbowmen in these numbers forward. Until TaToH had Siege or until TaToH gets Bloodlines, I think I might actually prefer crossbowmen.
Yeah, there's Ballistics for Viper, and once Ballistics comes in, TaToH really won't be able to take a fight. The numbers are pretty equal, but with the extra range and Ballistics added in, I think TaToH's going to have to run.
Okay, I'd love to see the left side. I see red movement there. Okay, so those scouts are checking for TC areas. Viper scouts are checking for TC areas. I think TaToH's going to make a break for it at some point here soon. If he feels like he can't kill Viper, or at least he has Viper in his base, there's no better time to move out and drop a town center. But that's very risky if you know that there's 4 scouts.
Right. Remember that game with Kingstone earlier, between Kingstone and TaToH, when Kingstone moved all those vills out and TaToH was right there to pick them off.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much at play here with the army as well. And wow, Bloodlines is in for TaToH. And I think he will also get Ballistics here in a second. He should know Viper has Ballistics now because of a couple of those volleys hitting.
Yeah, you can tell right away, and the TC is going to be at home for the Viper. So second TC at home, he's not going to venture out to the lower areas just yet.
I don't think TaToH read that Ballistics was in until maybe just now, and I'm very surprised that he's going Siege Workshop. Now, that's not going to hurt if Viper gets to his base, but when you've committed to that many Cav Archers and upgrades, I feel like Ballistics is the next best play to maximize your potential.
Yeah, and it's tricky because either Ballistics or a Siege Workshop means he's not getting that TC right away. And Viper's going to be on 2 TCs getting an eco lead.
Yeah, well, clearly he didn't feel like the Cav Archers were good enough to kill the crossbowmen. Viper had villagers over here. TaToH's scouts are going to find those 2 vills. Notice how Viper's also switched his scouts over elsewhere. There's so much to look at. The crossbowmen are also coming through. Scorpion there.
Defense from TaToH.
Yep, might be one dead villager there for TaToH. He actually micros them, and they survive. And Viper should know he's spotted there. And he will probably lose that villager as well. TaToH even saved the scout there. That's crazy.
Yeah, so both players forward with their armies. TaToH sees that the armies can't really fight, but since he has more mobility, Viper can't himself force the engagement. So they're both bypassing each other, going to the front and trying to pick off those low-lying TCs.
Now Viper will move to the right side. Knows TaToH's on the left. Has some issues on his gold potentially. And he loses a vill. Man, what a game. I mean, it is absolutely criminal that one player is done in this tournament after this series. These 2 are playing insane right now.
And there's that house wall again you mentioned. Still holding up. Oh, there we go. There we see vills finally picked off by scouts. Viper has been looking for this. He has been waiting for this with the scouts, and now he's ready to pounce on some vills. And he'll at least get 1 or 2. He doesn't have that many scouts, but that's what he's looking for. He knows where the TC is going to be now.
Such a close game. It's such a close game. It's absolutely unreal. TC should go up there. TaToH protecting. Viper adding his 3rd town center in the middle. Now, I actually love that with the Khmer because you want a super heavy food and wood eco, whereas the Saracens need the gold a bit more. So while that could be a negative for Viper if he can't make it over to gold eventually, I think that that'll in many ways make life easier for him. TaToH has to protect this. TaToH has to be out in the open field, and Viper is taking a really good engagement so far.
Well, we'll see. The Scorpions are coming over, and TaToH's getting a surround on the crossbows. And now he's gotten in where the crossbows won't be able to use their range. And with those Scorpions, he's going to clean everything.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity for Viper at his own Siege Workshop. Your opponent has Scorpions. You have better Scorpions. Cav Archers seem like the better unit. So this might be a moment, or many moments here, maybe 3 to 5 minutes for Viper, where he's going to play more defensive into Scorpions and then transition.
Yeah, and it will be maybe difficult for TaToH to keep all 3 of those TCs running because he only has 9 villagers on food. You can see that idle TC time ticking up for him a bit in that overlay down on the right.
Yeah, and Khmer are just ridiculous with their farms. Viper's got 8 vills in queue off 17 farms. That villager, this will be funny.
He's got 11 vills in queue.
TaToH's like, don't attack it yet. That was so funny. That was so funny. So patient from TaToH. The crossbowmen are here. TaToH loses a vill but reacts. And Viper's Siege Workshop is actually on the front of his base. So it will be kind of annoying to get Scorpions back to this army. I think he's okay, but TaToH's through.
Yeah, and again, he is Chimera, so if he needs to, he can still hop in those houses.
Yeah, true. That TC position's really nice, actually. It'll be tough for TaToH to move past there. And TaToH moves through. I think TaToH will end up wanting to leave here. Still keeping an eye on Viper's villagers on the right. He built a market. Since he's already on 3 TCs, he doesn't have the stone for another. He might try and buy the stone for that and sneak a town center up on a gold or stone somewhere.
And we see Elite Skirmisher coming in now for the Viper. That'll give him another unit to use against these Cav Archers.
Again, I just got to restate it. This is just so high level. This is so good. This is so smooth from both of them. Both players playing to their Civ bonuses, and Viper Scorpion just nailing these CA here. And this is, I think, actually a good fight for Viper. If you consider the cost difference and how much easier it is to mass Viper's army, I think he's completely fine with that engagement.
He killed a lot of Cav Archers there. And TaToH, he's taking fights that he's winning, but Viper's microing and getting the army in a position where even though he's losing them, he's not losing them as bad as he could.
So Viper's 3 TCs, 30 on food right now. Some of that's cows, but most of that's farms. He's now dropping a 4th TC on the right side. That should complete here. And then also the nice thing is behind that there's some gold. So even though it's on the stone, he's got access to that gold. And TaToH now wondering what can he make military-wise. The natural move when someone makes Scorpions is to go for a Mangonel, but Khmer outrange Mangonels with their Scorpions. It's a crazy bonus. I think this will be kind of tricky for TaToH.
Yeah, and good numbers of crossbows and Scorpions both moving forward. And somehow on this map, you need to find mobility with the Scorpions. And maybe that's just Scorpion plus crossbow combined are able to fend the Cav Archers off well enough that you can move them around without worrying about losing them.
Yeah, I think that stone's going to be important here, either for a forward castle on a stone or gold, or eventually a defensive one. That's the first time we're seeing anyone go to stone, right there. TaToH a little late to deny that town center. And Viper, he kind of has his Scorpions in the middle, I think. Yeah, he's got some of his Scorpions moving over this way. You can't really end the game with the Scorpions, but you can control the game at least.
Yeah, so Scorpions for both players of a Scorpion battle.
Scorpion micro, let's go. I mean, only Viper has ballistics. I think in the end, it's going to be 1 Scorpion for 2, and that's totally worth it for Viper. And he also has skirms in the mix. So another reason why the Cav Archers don't feel too good for TaToH right now.
Yeah, and here's TaToH. He's thinking about engaging, but can't quite get the numbers advantage to do so. He has to rely on Mangonel hits.
And he can't actively mine gold because his gold is by that TC. Viper sees the Mangonel, ducks underneath of it. And that's crazy from Viper. He's got a lead right now, and it allows him to keep the lead even longer, the fact that that army's still alive.
And look at that villager count now, 95 to 76 in favor of the Viper. And he has the extra TC added in, so that fill lead is just going to increase.
Yeah, and this is the messy games that the Khmer want. This is about to get so much crazier. Light Cav's on the way, Bloodlines is on the way, so Viper will start spamming stable units. He needs to make sure it's not so crazy that he can't keep up with the Scorpions, though.
Right, and there's that army on the left. TaToH wants to pick that off, but he needs to somehow get the Mangonel involved, the much slower Mangonel along with the Cav Archers.
So what are you thinking if you're TaToH? What type of moment do you need here? What are you aiming for? Because you've just been reacting to Viper for the last few minutes.
He's been reacting and just trying to jump these armies. And the question is going to be, how efficiently can Viper make this light cap switch? If there's a Civ that can do it well, it's the Khmer with their farms.
I think obviously TaToH needs a big siege shot here. And I think he really needs a castle to protect some of his base, in my opinion. If you protect one area of your base, then the rest of the fights become so much easier because you don't need to worry about it anymore.
Oh, well, that is not an easy fight for TaToH with that Scorpion, though. He's losing all of those Cav Archers, and an army he was looking to pick off now has just gotten even stronger.
Yeah, and Viper realizing he's out of gold at home, but he's got that gold we talked about, plus 2 armors on the way. Enough stone for a castle. I think the safe play for Viper is just castle the right side and just keep doing what you're doing. But he could go for a forward castle to end the game faster. It all depends on how good he thinks his position is right now.
Well, there goes villagers forward for Viper. And we'll see if he tries to add it at the bottom of the hill or the top of the hill. I think that with the army presence he has now, you can see all those blue dots moving in TaToH's base. He's going to get that forward castle.
It just, is that like 4 light cav and 2 skirms? Is that enough to protect a forward castle? It feels like it has some level of risk associated with it that isn't needed. You cannot build on that stony hill. So you have to build beneath it. Like, I would absolutely love to just see a safe castle to protect your goal and then win the game by raiding. I think we know a player very well that's teammates with both of these two who is known for suspect castles. And I'm just, okay, I was thinking his name. That looks a little bit better for Viper.
That does look a bit better. Viper, he was tempted, though. He was wandering around on the top of that hill. Maybe he just was looking for a place to place it and couldn't find a spot and decided to go back.
Well, it's at least good that Viper was able to recognize before he placed the castle. It wasn't too wise. That's going to end up being a very nice castle to still protect the map. He'll click up to Imp now. This will be a quiet moment or two for Viper. He mainly has Light Cav as his army right now. Doesn't have a lot of Scorpions, doesn't have a lot of Skirms.
Look at that
or
eco.
Crossbow anymore.
Look at that eco, all those farms. 54 farmers already. He's going to keep adding more. And then once he gets up, he can do that Hussar upgrade and just spam the Light Cav everywhere.
This is honestly where I think you may not even need to make another gold unit for quite some time here. I think with how exposed TaToH's base is, you can just go Light Cav raid. Now, camels are going to kill off those Light Cav, but whatever. The Light Cav just costs food, and then you can bank up gold for your next transition. That could be Heavy Scorpion. That could be Ballista Elephant. Those would probably be the two main things. But this is a fine position for Viper right now.
Yeah, and all that Viper wants to do is keep this messy so TaToH can't comfortably get into that camel army, get the heavy camel upgrade, get up to Imp. Right now, it looks like TaToH's probably going to be stuck in the Castle Age for a while, adding in Castle Age camels.
Yeah, Viper's done such a good job controlling this game. It's so smooth. And everyone here knows Viper's got this in him. I think the question maybe is, can this be continuous throughout a very long competitive series? And we'll obviously see. We hope to get 5 games here. TaToH engages. TaToH should clear this, but again, all the work he's had to do to get some level of control, and I think Viper has just Ballista Elephant cut through the trees. I think that Ballista Elephant chopped the trees, and we now have Crossbowmen and Light Cav storming into the back of TaToH's eco.
And that is brilliant. He has that castle, he has the Ballista Elephant. You're probably not going to make many of them and take straight up fights, but just the utility to go through the trees, it opens up the map even more for your Hussar raids.
It's so annoying. It's just so annoying. Like, the fact that this has happened because of one Ballista Elephant is crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, everything about the Chimera is kind of annoying, right? You get your army into their base, they hop in their houses. You think you're walled, they Ballista Elephant cut through. And it synergizes so well with their Hussar play.
Yeah, and TaToH's probably like, are you kidding me? I feel like I played well with the Saracens. This is one of the best civs for the map. And I haven't even clicked up to Imp yet, and I've just seen Imperial Age come in for my opponent. It's been nothing but reacting to the Viper. Viper, almost at 200 population. Look at these technologies now. He's getting like 7 or 8 techs at once, both for eco and for military. And he's going to use that right side next to the castle to potentially end this game, as the Arbalest production is coming right on TaToH's doorstep.
Yeah, everywhere on that minimap where TaToH has a base, there are blue dots raiding and killing villagers. TaToH has to react everywhere.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm not really sure if he has much of an answer. See, what Viper has done here is he has forced, with these Light Cav raids, a heavy camel response, which is the correct response from TaToH, but I think he's overmade camels now, and he's simply going to die to the Arbalest. TaToH knows it. He taps out, and Viper takes game number 1. That was smooth.
Wow, that was, and I think that just all comes down to that early attempt to go for that fast castle for TaToH. Viper held that, didn't really take much damage, and had a much better eco. And even though they were kind of trading armies that had an equal KD for most of the game, Viper was just building up that eco lead behind it.
Yeah, that was smooth. I don't know what else to say. I felt like you know, Viper at times in some other games has had a tendency to try and force the issue against walls and be too aggressive against walls. And here, he realized it's going to be tricky for me at times in the early Castle Age with Saracens, but let's just sit back and let's play a patient macro-style game. I really like the third TC in his base. I think we saw the benefit of him focusing more on farms than gold.
Right.
It felt like it was just enough at every single stage of that game.
And like you said, it was very smooth from Viper.
Yeah.
And the Chimera Civ that really favor that smooth play style into the messy game, where your own economy can be very well protected while you're trying to make the rest of the game messy.
Yeah, for TaToH, was Cav Archers the play? It felt like
I mean, it is 2025. That is the meta these days, right? We see everyone making Cav Archers. We see Jordan, he's walking behind us just to go make some Cav Archers. That's what people do these days.
Yeah, but like what the moment of the game where I didn't like CA there is he gets the numbers, he gets bloodlines, he's heavily committed to them, and he doesn't get ballistics. And what ends up happening was the two armies of Cav Archers and Crossbowmen are engaging similar numbers. The Cav Archers are tankier, but TaToH doesn't engage because he didn't go for ballistics. And I think it was a little bit of hesitancy and fear because Viper is Viper maybe, and he went for a Siege Workshop and those Scorpions at home. And I felt like that was the moment where it took TaToH some time to take the engagements he wanted.
Yeah,
And
here's a
Viper
replay
used
of one
the
of those engagements here. You see Viper, even at that point, it's ballistics versus no ballistics, and even though TaToH's killing some of the crossbows there, it's not the best fight for him.
Yeah, and it's just Viper's eco was just flying behind this. At this point in time, the Vil count's similar, but he already had more resources collected, and then Viper could transition into Scorpion. So TaToH needed the Cav Archers to collapse on those crossbowmen, win that fight, and then if Viper's defending only with Scorpions, he does it with no map control and no other military presence. That, to me, was the key. But great signs from TaToH still. I really liked his confidence in the initial build-up. I like how he played overall. I just think the downside, of course, was Viper was Khmer.
Well, sometimes Khmer do that to you, right? I remember a game where you and Dave played.
Oh, boy.
And Dave went that double stable landing on you, and you just hit in the houses.
Bro!
You remember that game?
Double stable landing?
Yeah, this is like a mega random map years ago on Voobly.
I remember one game where Dave beat me with Khmer, but it wasn't that one. So maybe there was another one. But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
You won that game. You hit in the houses. You were the Khmer.
Oh,
Yeah,
obviously I remember that
right?
one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've won so many against Dave, it all just kind of blends together, honestly.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the houses are very nice, and yeah, now I'm just thinking about beating Dave. So game 2, what do you think TaToH will lean towards here? Because again, there's the history of Viper on Fortress. TaToH has picked it. All these maps can be so good for Viper. So
I mean, TaToH could just go Arabia. He could pick one of Viper's maps, right? Sometimes you do that. Just want to pick the standard map, get it out of the way right as the game 2. If you feel like you're behind, just play something standard if you feel like you can beat him there.
I actually think TaToH may go Romans on Arabia.
Romans on Arabia.
Against Mayans. So
I like that. I like that.
the U-pudding play, right?
Right.
Where U-pudding / Phosphor, depending on how nerdy people are with the videos and the builds. That is its most dominant against Mezzo. U-pudding once in a tournament, he knew his opponent liked Mezzo. The opponent was Miguel. Sorry, Miguel, for bringing this up. And he said, I'm not going to ban Mayans. He gets first pick. I'm sure he'll pick it. Picked Mayans, and then he went Dravidian Scorpions to win off of Fast Castle there. I just keep that in the back of your mind. TaToH has a history of playing Romans on Arabia. It is not Arabia, though. It is fortified clearing.
It is Fortress.
Fortress, sorry. Fortress, there's a clearing.
There's a fort. Same thing.
It's basically the same.
The two kings are going to go say hi to each other on the side of the map. Of course, it is Fortress. It is Regicide, so you need to keep your king alive. They will scout a bit in the Dark Age.
If Viper notices this, he's going to go stand next to that king, and he's going to make it look funny for the viewers. But I don't think he noticed. I don't know why TaToH isn't moving with his. I mean, it's not dangerous.
He's got a board lure, right? I see that dot on the minimap that shows he's luring with the scout.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do lure with a scout on this map because you can hide the scout in the castle and heal it up.
They both have very good late game maps. Look at their gold positions. Those golds are on the back there for Viper. Those golds are on the back for TaToH. And both players have that very easy opportunity to extend their walls to the edge of the map. So we're talking 2 of the best late game civs, maybe 2 of the best late game maps you can get here on Fortress. So this could be a long one.
Yeah, and sometimes that can also come down to relics. It looks like Viper has maybe a slight advantage. I'll say that second relic all the way to the top of the map. But other than that, the other 4 should be able to be contested between the 2 players.
Yeah, that's really good for Viper. That's really good.
And especially as Burgundians, because you get not just the gold from the relics, but also the food from the relics.
And Burgundians have the easier opportunity to contest for the relics because of the cheap light cav upgrade. So that's already an edge for them. And then even if you don't want to go that route, if you're making unique units to help control relics, it's much easier to have a cav unique unit than it is to use the wagons. I'm laughing because Vodka, our observer, was pointing out, hey, Viper's got those eco upgrades. Make sure to mention Dark Age eco upgrades are in for Viper, so that's only something the Burgundians can do.
Yeah, and sometimes the Burgundians can struggle with the cav unique unit against the halbs of the Bohemians that have that bonus attack.
Yeah.
But I think one of the keys to Fortress is that it's not arena where you're in this small enclosed area. It is a wide open map with open areas instead of forest all the way on the outside. So the cav become more useful here where you can run around and try to raid different areas.
Yeah. Now, is there a civ you prefer here, or do you think it's pretty close?
I think it's pretty close, but we do usually see Bohemians picked, I think, with a bit more priority for the players.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it comes down to player preference and style. Viper is definitely more of open and adapt style, loves to have his mobility. So someone like Viper or Hera maybe really like the Burgundians. But other players usually are, other players that would be here would normally prefer the Bohemians. The thing to remember here about this matchup, which I feel is lost on some people, is you think Bohemians are the best gunpowder civ because they get Hufnitsa. Hufnitsa is a reason why, yes, they're very strong. But if you don't get to Hufnitsa, Burgundian gunpowder actually does additional damage. So hand cannon v hand cannon, Burgundians are the better gunpowder civ. Bombard cannon v bombard cannon, Burgundians actually are the better bombard cannon civ. So Bohemians only become really strong if you get to Hufnitsa, and if you combine that with Halb, and that's going to take a long time here.
Yeah, Bohemians also, they have siege engineers available to them, so they can't get extra range on those cannons. When you get to that fully upgraded point, that's when the Hafnitzer really shine. But before that, the Burgundians can be a bit faster, and their better eco can help them be faster.
Okay, so there is a king.
There's a king. The feudal age scout is faster than the king. Viper, will you see that?
No. This arena would have gotten really, really loud if Viper spotted that. I think maybe TaToH could have saved himself, but maybe taking a few too many risks there. But the other thing when comparing the matchup is on arena, people tend to prefer the Bohemians because they can out-execute in a monk war. But this is a tough map to really go monk siege push because of the extra fortifications. So I personally have a little bit more faith in the Burgundians, but again, I think it's very close.
Right, and it's a bit of a larger map than normal. Fortress is slightly larger than the other maps, so it kind of takes away the ability for Bohemians to go maybe for that 1 TC, forward castle, fast imp, early treb, bombard cannon war play.
Okay, so what I wasn't expecting was to see the player with the gold mining bonus, Bohemians, to have 2 on gold, and the player without the gold mining bonus to have 4 on gold. So Viper, even researching gold mining, I mean, that tech is cheaper. Maybe he's foreseeing the fact that TaToH will use the heavy gold play and buy and sell some resources. But that's not normally what you see. Normally, you don't see the market being used from the Burgundian player because they have so many farms, they don't need to buy the food. But Viper's cut some farms. Instead, he's got the Vills on gold for some extra flexibility.
Well, remember, with the registered resources, you do usually need a couple more Vills on gold because you don't start with any. So that might just be part of his normal regicide build.
That's true. I think in TaToH's case, I don't know if Vodka can maybe page up.
And it might indicate more of a priority on the monasteries and monks, too.
I think it's possible that there was wood was sold. Yeah, so for TaToH, he sent 2 to gold, didn't have enough, sold a little bit of wood. That makes sense. But still, I mean, 8 on wood is not what I would fully expect. Maybe Viper doesn't have as many on gold long term if he built a TC here. And yeah, that's a good TC next to wood. And also next to the gold. And then he goes for the monastery. And I'd like to see Viper scouting now. Because in Viper's position, yeah, he's got those 2 relics. And like, normally you might want to save those relics, the safe relics, for later. But if you're also getting food income from it, I think you might want to get that relic in the north right away.
Yeah, it's important to get them in when you're skipping that 3rd TC to put the monastery up. TaToH went immediately for the TC, so he's not going to have as much of a focus on the relics as Viper is. And if Viper is wanting to go for some type of early imp pressure, he needs to make sure he's not going to fall behind in the boom.
Yeah. Now, can we see TaToH scouting as well? Because TaToH seems to be looking around. Again, this is crazy. This happened to TaToH as well. The relic spawns are really weird on this map. TaToH's missing one on the left side because it's squeezed up to the edge of the map. And now in the north, he's going to see that. But I think this will be frustrating for TaToH because it's already tougher for him to contest the relics. And now there's 2 fairly close to Viper's base. So that will be big confidence for Viper as he looks for that one. And TaToH has to pretty much accept Viper's probably going to have 2 fairly easily here.
Yeah, well, good news for TaToH. Viper did miss scouting that relic by a couple tiles. And still just now, the 3rd TC being added in for Viper.
Yeah, I'd like to see, again, maybe a page up to see Viper's market usage. Hasn't used it too heavily. I guess Viper's head is in the way. But he did buy something there a second ago.
For 127 gold. We can figure out what that is based on the prices, right?
Okay, we can, but I don't feel like thinking about it. So please, please tell me.
If he clicks on the market, we can see the prices, and then we'll figure out what it was.
Yeah.
So it looks like it was wood he bought then.
Too many numbers.
130 wood that it costs now.
It's the first set of the day. Too many numbers for me, bro. Too many numbers for me, but yeah, makes sense. Fervor on the way for TaToH, so that applies to the villagers too. So they're a bit faster now, which is a very big upgrade to get. And it's 35 Vils versus 34. Pretty close, boomy game here.
And also, a few Custilier out for Viper. He's going to be looking for TaToH to make plays for the relics. But does TaToH have a monastery yet? Is he going anywhere for monks? He does.
Yep. And monks should be a little bit faster. Now, I want TaToH, regardless of what else happens here with the relics, I want him to extend a wall from the right side of his base to the edge of the map and the left side of his base to the edge of the map, and you just turtle in that corner until you get Hoofnita help. I feel like you're always going to be slightly outboomed against the Burgundians. You're probably here going to be behind in relics. Okay, sure, but get to your death ball and push with it. Sometimes what people want to do on this map, and TaToH loves this, is they like to move out, they like to move forward for forward castles, whatever. I really think your best chance is if you take advantage of your map and turtle, and you do not move out until you're ready.
Yeah, and two perfect maps for this for both of those players, right?
Yeah,
both of them with the golds in the back, and both of them where if you get pushed early on, you're probably not too worried about it because you can just go to the back for the golds.
And TaToH should also know that. If we could see TaToH's Fog of War, they're just looking for monks. He also knows Viper's golds are in the back as well. So that's even more reason not to push. If Viper's golds were forward, you might want to go for an early imp style push.
Right.
I could be wrong on this, but I just think that's the play. And then obviously in Viper's case, you might want to push the Bohemians before they get there. Look at Viper attack and block there. Viper deletes his... Oh, sorry, TaToH... Wait, Viper deleted. TaToH's now chasing this down. He might end up getting Atonement to try and convert that monk. Is Atonement in queue right now, I wonder? Behind
Sanctity now.
Not in queue. It's kind of expensive, so...
I mean, he does have Fervor already, so he is faster.
Oh, can he heal? Heal with one, convert with the other. Oh, the scout is saved, and now Viper goes for conversion. Will Viper save this monk or not? Oh, that was so well played from TaToH. That was so well played.
And now he's just going to heal the scout up, and he can pick another monk. With two monks, he can get a conversion here.
I think this is...
Oh!
What? Look at TaToH's face. That... I mean, based on my knowledge of how monks operate currently, that does not make sense to me.
Was the monk charged somewhere before that?
Well, so something I've realized is if a monk started converting and they lose sight of the unit, they will still sometimes hold on to that conversion.
Yeah, they hold on to the conversion until it stops walking. So until it stops searching for the unit, it holds the conversion.
I mean, Viper's now in a pretty good position to take some engagements. I think everyone's going to lose their monks here. And so that's maybe fairly even trade.
Yeah, and we saw that there as TaToH was able to swap the conversion from the one unit to the other and hold the charge. But sometimes, as you say, when you leave the line of sight, you might expect it to stop, but it doesn't stop until the monk or finishes walking towards the unit. Yeah,
there's instances right now where you don't see the unit and they still keep the hold in the conversion. But there, Viper did maybe still see it because he had active army around.
Right.
It was just the monk was so far away and off screen. And that felt forever ago that I think TaToH and everyone in the crowd expected Viper to lose that monk there.
Yeah, and there's Imperial Age on the way for TaToH. He will be the first one up. Viper shouldn't be too far behind. And there's the university in the back for TaToH as he's going to look to maybe start securing that area by the golds.
This timing from TaToH doesn't feel like the big turtle play. Now, maybe he's respecting that Viper's going to push him pretty quickly. But this feels more like an early imp push style. Could be because he's super far behind in the relics. Like, if he doesn't see that relic on the left side, he's assuming Viper's going to have, like, 5 relics right now.
Right.
And that's very dangerous long term.
Yeah, and if you don't go for the relics, you kind of are forcing yourself to go for that earlier push because you don't want to fall behind in eco.
Yes, but, like, relics are long term. So I stand by my statement that I think TaToH wins this game with Halb Hoofnita. And I would like to see him try and get there as quickly as possible. This is more of a bombard cannon, trep style push than it is waiting for Hoofnita.
And Viper is scouting around the back of TaToH's base. He will indeed see those golds. And there are those villagers going forward for TaToH. A few spears, a Hussite wagon, a few units to protect them. And he's going to look maybe for a forward castle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And bombard cannons could come pretty quickly. You know, I saw Viper have some issues in an arena-style game recently where he built a lot of his production on the front, and all that production just got sieged right down. He doesn't know that army's there, but maybe he'll regret not having some activity in the middle. He's trying to scout other areas, like the back corner, which is very thorough. But this is the key right now. You need to know what's coming here, Viper. Those 3 archer ranges could potentially go down. He might not have time to get the gunpowder, as we see TaToH dropping his first range. That will be hand cannons. And then right now, the first bomber cannon's on the way. This is crazy.
Yep, chemistry finished. He did chemistry on his way up to Imp. And now also having the stone just about for another castle is TaToH. And he's going to look to engage in a treb war before Viper has a chance to react.
Oh, man, dude, that is a statement castle. You know, I wanted the extreme of defense. TaToH says, how about if I'm this aggressive? Because if it's this fast, Viper might not have time to get to any of his bonuses. You might be wondering, like, why? Viper's collected almost 3,000 more resources. Well, it's because he went 4 TCs. He added the 4 TC in the north. He's gone for a much more expansive economy. And there is a risk in that. It delays your Imperial Age ever so slightly. The castle in the back from Viper tells me that he is fully expecting to lose the front of his base, and he's bracing himself for the future.
Right, that castle, the initial castle he has is forward, and he might lose that, but it's also going to buy him time. TaToH needs to push into that castle, and it might just give Viper more of an economy lead, as he already has that 4th TC and more villagers.
There was a game with the Bohemians in this tournament where the Bohemian player clicked chemistry right when they were about to reach Imp. So technically they researched it faster than other civs, but they didn't end up making bomber cannons until way later. TaToH had this perfect. Right after he reached Imp, chemistry is already completed, or right before, sorry, and the cannons are out already. And Viper has to go for chemistry now to get to his gunpowder, and he hasn't done so. He's actually adding a staple, and that wagon will spot the stables.
So TaToH, he knew those golds were back there, and he just went to check with the wagon, and he's going to see the stables. He might not know exactly what the transition is from Viper, but he knows that the cav will be a part of it.
See what I mean, though? Like, all these ranges now, these ranges are all going to go down, and that's a difficult thing for Viper to replace.
And TaToH's still not walled at the back, like you were asking for earlier. But, oh, there's a hole. There's a hole in the walls through the overchop.
Yeah, TaToH, he's just full focus now. I mean, think about this. You're up against the Viper. You're down a game. It's hard to be critical of anyone who just thinks you've got to kill Viper quickly here, especially if Viper has, in his mind, 5 relics, in reality 4. He wants to go for the kill, and Viper, I'm a little uncertain on what his game plan is. He didn't click chemistry yet, right?
Oh, he's going Paladin. He's going Burgundian Paladin. That is cheaper, but it's in a 1v1 against the Civ with Bohemian Halbs. Already 16 pikemen out for TaToH.
Well, Viper is doing something interesting here, though, because Viper is trying to cut off the reinforcements. He sees the ranges are forward, but there's no barracks. So if he always has an army in the middle, new pikes can't go forward. Also, if we could see TaToH's Fog of War in the back, I'm not certain he knows it's a full commit. He sees one stable. That could just be for anything. And Viper has otherwise hidden all evidence that this is going to be Paladin. Viper will have Paladin in 70 seconds. TaToH hasn't prioritized Halb. I'm not sure TaToH's aware of this yet.
Yeah, we're seeing more ranges from Viper on the outside as those farms get raided. But that's what Viper wants to do, kind of leak out his eco to the outside, and TaToH needs to make sure he keeps the scouting up so that Viper can't farm in those locations.
Yeah, it's good from TaToH to use the converted unit to get over there because he doesn't have a ton of mobility. Now, Viper still won't have any siege with this pushback. So if he attacks with Paladin, he's basically just going to clear up this army, but the castle's going to remain there.
There go the relics.
There go the relics. There goes range number 4 or 5 to go down, and I think TaToH should have been able to catch a glimpse of the Cavalier there. We'll probably see him immediately drop barracks and go for Halb. And yeah, there's the Halb upgrade now, but does he have enough right now on the front?
And where are the Paladins going?
I think they're going to raid.
How can they raid? TaToH's fully walled. Does Viper see the walls yet? Or does he think TaToH's still open?
Well, last he was there was no walls.
There's no walls. He's trying to hope that that's still open, but TaToH's done a good job to wall it off.
What do you think about that castle from TaToH? It feels like he's got an opportunity to place that deep in Viper's base. Maybe not a strong opportunity, but he's opting for the safe play. I guess back to what I was saying earlier, I did want him to get to his maximum potential. And if Viper's going to try and raid him, that would slow that down. So with that in mind, this is fine. I still think the house walls are actually a liability. Yeah, he needs stone walls.
The houses go down pretty quickly to the Paladins, and he's going to stone wall a bit farther behind it. Far enough back that he's going to ensure it goes up, no problem.
Yeah, Viper will think that he's got opportunity to break through. Those Paladins are shredding through. TaToH could build another castle soon on the front. He really needs to try and prevent Viper from getting those relics.
Those cannons, ooh, Viper not going for them. Just going to try to reclaim the relics.
This is so well played from Viper. This counterattack, even though it's not killing a ton, it's doing an awful lot. It will still deny that gold, and it's taking TaToH's focus away from the push.
But look at what TaToH just clicked. He has the health needs to upgrade on the way in. And once those come in, then it becomes much more difficult for the Burgundians to take fights against the cannons.
It's crazy that Viper was so late to chemistry, but he hasn't needed monk upgrades. He hasn't needed his own bomber cannons at all here. That's normally what happens.
Right. He wasn't planning on engaging in that fight at the front. He just wanted to add those buildings, lose that as slowly as he could, and only now wait for chemistry in his own cannons.
Yeah, really patient from Viper. And he's got that better economy still, but here's a question of if his Civ can compete with the strength of the Bohemians. Do the Bohemians get fortified wall?
That's a question for Orlando.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I was just wondering, because I really don't see it that frequently. Actually, now that I think about it, I think that Kingston researched it the other day against TaToH, but that's a good tech to get because Viper's knocking on the door. Viper now wants these cannons out of the picture before Hoofnitsa comes in. Viper just running past with the Paladins. That's expensive, but if he kills the Hoofnitsa, he'll probably be happy with this.
Yeah, it's good that the upgrade came in just then, so that's a bit more HP, and it gives him a bit more time to kill the Paladins.
Wow, Viper, if only would have had the attack upgrades, might have killed them a little bit faster, but Viper clears them up. He also takes out the Treb, and he has his own Trebs right now on this castle. TaToH basically has nothing there.
Oh, he's in at the south, too. He's in at the south. The Paladins broke through the wall.
Oh, man, this is horrible. He actually, I think Viper's blocking that gate foundation. He knows exactly what's happening. Viper's just playing so good here. And look at how patient he was. He built up 3 trebuchets before firing, and TaToH's going to lose the front of his bait, or sorry, the push. And Viper's got full map control. Castle and TC on the right, TC on the left. This is perfection from Viper.
Oh, the outpost is going to find the final relic. He's going to get all 5 relics as Burgundians with that extra food. And this is exactly the position Viper wants to find himself in.
This is insane. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. It's something that you've maybe expected from Viper a little bit in the past, but this is just absolute patience when needed, killer instinct when needed, and just perfect macro behind. 25 Paladins, 15 Skirmishers. Now, look at his res. Like, he can go full gunpowder now. He could also go for Revolution, maybe?
I don't think he wants to do that.
Yeah, probably doesn't want to go for the Flemish Revolution, but if there's ever a position to try it, this would maybe be it. But Viper will feel like he can't lose this game now as long as he holds the map. And
well,
TaToH
as long as he holds the map, right? Bohemians, I feel like the Bohemian unit composition with how good their halbs are still is better, but the Burgundian economy with 5 relics is just insane.
And Bohemians are just so slow. Right? All their units are super, super slow. So to now have to creep through the middle of the map is going to be so taxing.
Oh, those walls from Viper. Not only are they slow, but they're going to be walled in.
Yeah, but if you get to 80 army with the Bohemians, you have a better 80 army than the Burgundians.
Absolutely.
So
and
that's
the
what you need.
Burgundians really can't fight that.
Yeah.
It's hard to fight the halbs. Even if you do your own hand cannons, that's probably your best option.
I'd like to see Viper get monk upgrades here. I think the opportunity for the occasional conversion on these Hoofnitsa will be there. And when you have 3k gold, that's an option you should probably consider. His own cannons, also a good option. There he goes for relic number 5. We'll get to find out if they put the right settings in the lobby here.
And that's true. When you swap it to Regicide, it defaults to standard victory. So we'll see if this is a relic victory.
Because every time you load up, you change the game mode, it'll say, do you want to take our recommended settings? Players should normally say no, but I feel like every tournament now, players are messing up the settings. So
I feel like it.
It is something, and I'm not at all annoyed about the fact that all the players that mess it up have been playing for over 10 years. It doesn't bother me. TaToH still needs patience. He's not popped yet here, T-West. I think he needs like 8 cannons, 60 halbs.
Oh, the villager is fighting the monk.
Okay.
TaToH realizing, did I host this lobby? Did I make the wrong settings? I don't want everyone to see.
Yeah, right? Would have been funny if Viper converted a Vil and then quick walled to save the monk.
That is a very Viper play.
I mean, that's what I was hoping for. I'm a little let down.
I think Viper was maybe looking for a one-tile nook in the wood line where he could wall with the relic and try to keep the monk alive.
It could do that, maybe. There's the upgrades for Viper. He's got so many resources. But I was not expecting a Treb cut forward monastery. That seems to be the play on the right side. And TaToH comes over. That TC is going to be gone in the blink of an eye. And Viper knows that TaToH's got enough for a couple big groups here. Well, that will be tricky to deal with.
That's the thing. The Bohemians, they can push, but it's hard to push in multiple spots at the same time. Right now, Viper, he has his main base, and he has those two side castles and TCs on the extra golds. Yep. And TaToH can remove one of those castles, but Viper can still take the other one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Viper will hope for now. Viper will feel like he can always lose a couple castles here and be fine. Viper will dive with the Paladins. There's Halbs there, but I don't know if that's enough Halbs. There's too many Paladins. It's enough Paladins to dive in and take the cannons, and that's what TaToH needs to rely on to win this game. It'll be an absolute slaughter here, and TaToH's castle will fall. His villagers will fall. He probably needs to be careful not to try and save anything or reinforce, because the Paladins could run into his eco there.
Yeah, and all the Halbs from TaToH are still out on the right. He pushed one castle, but that castle's in the middle of nowhere right now. His main base is being pushed by Viper.
Now, interesting decision from TaToH. I actually like it. Just keep moving forward towards Viper's base, right? Because what Viper wants is for you to react, and then he pulls away with this faster army, and then it's just an endless cycle. At least he's making a move. And look at Viper thinking about this. He actually moved his king. I saw it on the mini-map. He moved his king to the castle and out of the tower. So he knows, as he even gets hoardings now, that TaToH's desperation play might involve a king snipe.
It might, and he has the house needs to there. I mean, that's a great unit for pulling off the tower snipe and getting the king.
Yeah. Viper has a lot of eco over here. Like so much eco. I guess he had no wood in the north. So he's losing a lot of vills right now.
Yeah, and as you said, if TaToH had pulled back to defend, Viper could have just ran away. TaToH needs to be the one with the Halbs forcing the fights and forcing the spots on the map where Viper has to move his army.
Yeah, and Viper's now the one reacting. Yeah, so this is well played from TaToH. Remember, he might not have the relics, but he still has enough gold to make cannons, and that's all you're spending your gold on. Oh, his Halbs are out of position. His Halbs are out of position. This could be costly. And he will lose some of his Hoofnita. That's so worth it for the Viper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's going to stop this push, or at least slow it down. Now Viper doesn't have to worry about the Hoofnita getting through any of his walls.
I'd really like to see Viper, who actually has no gold income right now, apparently. That might change. I'd really like to see him make some hand cannons.
Look at Viper's food. He has 8,000 food.
Like, is it not bad at this point to still be making Paladins? I think they accomplished what they wanted. But now it's full Halb. I feel like you need to spend your gold on gunpowder to try and
now it's just skirm. And now Viper doesn't have a gold unit. I mean, he doesn't have any gold.
Yeah. TaToH's done a really nice job. I mean, that TC will get shot down, but he at least took Viper off that gold. That tower and the Halbs there kept Viper off of that gold. Kind of felt to me like Viper was going to take those golds forever.
Right, so how much gold does Viper still have in the back of his base? Did he completely mine out those 2 golds he had? Yeah, he did. So
how did Viper lose 50 villagers? He had so much eco here. He had like the base setup. He just had all of his lumberjacks exposed, and he sent so many villagers into those Halbs. For as amazing a start this was to Imp for Viper, I mean, this is just completely collapsed on him here. And now he's got 3 Trebs and a monk?
Against villagers?
What, did they walk into a bar? Like, what is this? This is a joke. I mean, he might take the castle, but this seems wasteful for Viper at the moment. And I'm just wondering if TaToH's got some real chances now.
Yeah, 3 Trebs, they will go down. I mean, they took a castle, so that was probably worth it. But that's not where he really needs to push right now. Yeah. He really needs to care about the extra golds on the map.
Yeah, this has been kind of the theme at times for me. It's like with Vihera, for example, right now, who's winning so much. Elite level, but consistent throughout every single stage of the game. There's very rarely that drop off. And here, felt like Viper was going to win this one, outlast his opponent.
And look at the resources for TaToH. I mean, Viper has 8k food, but TaToH is far more balanced.
Like, where are the Trebs are here, I guess, to go for a TC, but now he's got army elsewhere. He's stabilizing all these things. He's falling apart here, and TaToH must start to realize this soon. I think before with the 3 Trebs, you think, okay, he's still ahead of me, still got the relics, but this is now the 3rd or 4th instance where he's catching Viper out, and I feel like TaToH's got enough soon to make a push for the middle, right through the gut.
And you feel like that's maybe the opposite of how things should go in the Civ matchup, where it's the Cav player trying to catch the other Civ out of position, but TaToH's done a good job of keeping the Halbs next to those Halfneets for this entire time so they can't be jumped.
Yep. I want to see Viper just, like, never make another Paladin. We're still queuing Paladins against 70 Halbs. I'm not in love with that move. I want to see him just make light cav for raids. They're still good for raiding. They still die to halps, but they're less expensive. And then maybe a couple hand cannons and bomber cannons and monks in the mix. Otherwise, it's going to be tough. Sometimes when you're hard committed mentally into how games are going, it's hard to make those switches. But look at TaToH come back. He just does not let Viper on those golds for much longer than Viper needs to be.
No, he does not. And we talked about how open the map is. Right now, it's those golds that are important. So TaToH can just get a few halbs onto the gold, get a few cannons there, and he doesn't need that much mobility at this point.
Viper's Trebuchet out of the castle. TaToH sees it with the halbs, and that could be another Trebuchet down for the Viper. He does lose that. And now he will dive with his Paladins. Paladins come in. They'll take a Hoofnitsa in response. Nice shot from the Viper there. But TaToH has more gold in the bank. This is what's crazy about the Bohemians. You only spend gold on Siege. You don't spend gold on anything else.
Right, your halbs is so good, and especially against the weaker Paladins that don't have bloodlines.
Oh man, Viper's got bombard cannons here though. He's got bombard cannons. He needs to protect his bombard cannons. The skirms will probably be enough in the end to defend these.
But the cannons go down. Those are expensive with how little gold he has.
He has 0 on gold. 0
That's
on
the
gold.
second cannon down.
He's got 4 relics. TaToH was able to snag one, by the way. TaToH knocking on the door. What a game here, T-West. I got to say this about Viper, though. It's been shaky at times. He's stabilized his eco pretty massively.
Oh, we have a pause.
I think TaToH is fixing his earphones or something. But
the crowd was ready. They were ready to hear a GG called there. Viper. they were anticipating it.
I mean, I'm curious to see what you do now. They've been going back and forth over the golds. TaToH can do that again. And he's going to try it again here. Wow. Oh, man, what a clear up. Bye-bye, Paladins. I think for Viper there, maybe he just lost track. Maybe the pause affected his focus. It was only like a 3 or 4 second pause, though. So usually the longer ones, that can happen.
Oh, nice cannon shots on the Paladins there. And how does Viper stop this now? How does he pick off the cannons? There are so many halbs there.
Well, his current choice is Paladin, right? And we've talked about how costly that is. Skirms do help against the halbs, but the DPS isn't that crazy. The damage per second is much lower than something like hand cannons. Hussar I'm loving because you could still snipe the cannons, and it's not as costly a fight. Viper's Paladin's just melting there.
And you have 8,000 food at this point, so you can afford to lose some Hussars and continue producing them.
Yep. Viper primarily queuing skirms. He will have his own bomber cannons somewhere, but Viper wants that gold again. And TaToH's here. That's where Viper's cannons are too. I gotta, like, so well played from TaToH to control these slow groups. It's so easy for all your halbs to just wander off away from your cannons and you lose them. And it seems like he's always able to control it so perfectly.
And not just control them, but control them in 2 or 3 locations.
That's crazy. And he takes out both the Viper's cannons there. It's Viper who seemingly can't deal with this now. And he'll be pushed off of the gold. He just has so much respect for the Hoofnitsas wherever they are. If you look too long at one area, you're going to lose the other side.
Yeah, and the Burgundians, with all those halbs defending them, don't really have a way to pick them off. Even if you go for your own cannons at this point, you have less range.
Yeah.
And you can't micro and win that game of dodgeball.
Viper is queuing up a couple hand cannons now. Also queuing up more Paladins, more Hussars, more skirms. He's going to send everything he can at this. He will definitely lose that castle on the right side, so that will be some more gold for TaToH, who, by the way, isn't mining any for the first time in a while. He's officially finished all the other golds, and he only has 1 relic.
And this is where we see great KD for TaToH so far, but once he finishes mining the gold, it will be 4 relics and Burgundian vineyards for Viper.
Viper's Trebuchet got sniped there by the bombard cannons. TaToH maybe needs to be careful, though. The castle fire and the skirms are taking out his halbs. He's got all these buildings here to immediately reinforce the position, which is so necessary. If you produce from home, you lose everything here because you're not going to have more halbs. But look at all the production buildings next to this push from TaToH.
And remember, the king is in that castle. The king from Viper is in the castle.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think, and where's it gonna run? That's part of the issue for Viper. Yes, you could lose your king, but you've got nowhere to go, seemingly, if you lose that castle in the first place. This is a tap out if that castle goes down.
Yeah, and huge score lead for TaToH, too, as he continues to float 1,500 gold, just about.
Yeah.
And Viper, it feels like he's the one who should have more gold at this point, but he was making all of those Paladins for so long. He was making a gold unit that was continuously dying to the halbs. TaToH's just spent gold on cannons, and that's it.
Yeah, it's been so cost-effective. And honestly, when it's all said and done, it might be TaToH who's collected a little bit more gold because of the mineable gold. It felt like with Viper's position that he would have taken all the golds on the sides. TaToH took the majority of the gold on the left. He's now taking gold on the right side too. So crazy stuff here. Viper still does not want to allow TaToH to take that gold, but TaToH's got enough army there. And Viper just barely holding on right now. But still, it just feels like this never-ending story against these cannons.
Yeah, and there was that period early on when Viper had both of those extra golds, had the TCs and castles up, and was pushing down the middle. But this Bohemian army is just so good. You only need 2 units. It's so simple.
Yeah, 1,600 gold for TaToH. He'll always have more cannons. Viper, no protection here. He only has 1 castle. The Halbs are going to be into the farming eco. Halb raids isn't your typical way to kill your opponent's eco, but when they're mainly producing stable units, it's actually a great move. They can't really send over Hussars to clear it up or anything. And so, yeah, Viper will have some problems. And TaToH building up another big push to move for the castle now.
Yeah, and it feels like Viper just can't figure out a unit that can deal with this. I mean, look at that. He has skirms, hussars, paladins, hand cannons, and I don't even know what that still is on that third icon. I can't tell what that is. It's more cannons. then he's just trying to figure out something to deal with the Halfneeds. TaToH just says Halfneeds, and that's it.
Yeah, so good. So good from TaToH. I think he's got enough now to make a move for this castle. Look at him bring the Vils to even repair them. Like, it's so good. Like, right here's an example. You see how the Halbs are moving away? Any normal player, he looks away, and all their Halbs get pulled away. They lose all their Halbs, they lose all their cannons, and the casters are screaming in pain. But TaToH's always keeping an eye on all of his cannons. All of his cannons are always protected by Halbs. He's making it look way too easy right now.
And I think it's easier when your army is just 2 units. Right? You have a few cannons, you remember where they are, and you just put Halbs in them.
Yeah, I agree, but it's not easy when you have to do the same thing in 2 different areas. And he's done that the entire game. It's super difficult. And he's just chewing up Viper's units time and time again. I mean, at a certain point here, he's going to click that castle. And if he's hitting that castle with cannons, Viper's going to lose it. Viper does not have any stone that's mineable. He does have some in the bank. Viper, I think, has to try his own bombard cannons, which are inferior, unfortunately, in combination with the skirms. It's really his only choice right now.
Yeah, he needs some type of siege here, otherwise the cannons just pretty much never die. There are too many Halbs that the Cav can't pick them off.
It's a frustrating position for Viper to be in. We talked about monks before. This is the first time I'm seeing a monk try and convert a bombard cannon in pretty much the whole game from Viper.
And he succeeds.
He does get a conversion there.
And maybe that's the unit that Viper needs, adding in some monks.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of if only from Viper fans, though, because we saw how much gold was spent on Paladin. And it's not going to be easy to make more monks right now.
And monks are something that Halbs can't easily pick off because of how big that range is.
Yep. Yeah, there's some arena clowns screaming and how this game has unfolded. As they probably would have wanted to see monks from Viper earlier, but he's somewhat committed now. The nice thing about a monk is you can use it many, many times over time if you keep it alive. So it does need to regenerate their faith, but beyond that, we should be okay. I mean, the screen is lighting up right now because Viper's castle
is under
that
attack.
Has the king in it is being attacked, and the castle's being repaired. Viper is out of stone.
I guess Halbs at least are not a king sniping unit, and that's the only good thing for Viper here.
Yeah, Viper's own cannons, which he's been building up here, hop in there to save the day, and he will kill some Hoof needs it. He also loses some cannons, and TaToH's micro is absolutely insane, T-West. That's crazy.
So Viper's still trying to hold on. What do you think he's waiting for? Just for the gold to run out and then hope that the 4 relics and vineyards can sustain him?
Yep, that's exactly it. And the gold will actually run dry here for TaToH.
As we're at the 1 hour mark in this game. And, well, the tricky thing is that even if Bohemians run out of gold, they don't need gold for Halbs.
Yep.
And then you might be asking what happens to the wood on the map.
Yeah, honestly, this is becoming a wood conversation too. Viper's wood access in the north is super exposed. We've seen that raided. TaToH's kind of controlling some of that wood here. I mean, TaToH's backing off right now, which is kind of interesting. It makes me think that he believes that Viper's got enough to defend, and Viper's got the 4 relics. Viper's got the farms bringing in that trickle of gold, and he also has a more diverse comp. TaToH's just been spamming the same 2 types of units.
And we look at stables now from TaToH. He's starting to add in some light cap, not something the Bohemians do particularly well. They do lack both bloodlines and that final armor upgrade. So even the skirms, as they have Bracer, do quite a bit of damage to the light cap.
That always worries me. Anytime I see a Bohemian player making cav, makes me think they don't have faith in their comp to work anymore. And the thing is, the cav could be really strong with raids. I don't know if it actually contributes a ton against the light cav, because like you said, they lack the upgrades. We'll see, but this moment where TaToH's backed off has given Viper a lot of time to stabilize, and Viper has 55 farms. There's a lot of raiding opportunities for him as well with Hussars, and TaToH starting to take some wood on the outside of his base now, excuse me.
So how much gold is behind that TC? Around 600, 500, 600 gold left on each of those tiles, respectively. And stables going up for both players here. And yeah, it feels like TaToH's push is just stalled out.
I feel like TaToH recognized that the bulk of Viper's eco is here, and that pushing past that castle isn't going to be easy. So he's just shifting all his pressure to the north now. I'm concerned for TaToH now. I actually thought he had it, and Viper's position's looking much better. Viper's now getting monk upgrades. He had the time to think about this, and he didn't have these upgrades before. So Viper has like 5 or 6 monks in his group at all times. Viper could also go Halb himself, by the way. This could be good for Viper.
Yeah, and that castle down under 2,000 HP, but the king is still safe.
Yep.
TaToH wasn't able to finish the push. But now I look
at... we have a revolution from Viper!
What?
He has actually gone for the revolution.
It.
This tech was nerfed to the point where people feel it's too costly. It should never work in competitive AoE. We have Viper producing mass villagers out of his town centers to get villagers back, but look at that army count. Every single villager he had when he completed this tech has become a military unit. Will this work, or will Viper live to regret this?
He didn't do the blacksmith upgrades before clicking the button.
He doesn't have armor for his units.
He doesn't have armor on them, but he's fighting Halb and Cannon. There's nothing from TaToH right now that can kill the militia. He could add his own hand cannoneers, but that's a long transition.
Yeah, but don't Halbs kill them? Like, if you don't have armor, don't Halbs and light cap kill them? I don't know. We don't see it that frequently. I think TaToH, if he just falls back with his expensive units right now, and braces himself, it could actually lead to him winning this game. He's got 98 more Flemish militia to deal with. They're all in different groups.
This is tricky because I think both of us felt like the momentum was shifting to Viper's side anyway.
Yes, I can't believe it. Like, Viper absolutely started to have the momentum here. This was getting much better for him. If he doesn't win this game, because of the Flemish militia, he might live to regret it. I can't believe it. I mean, I'm loving the fact that we're actually seeing it. But the situation didn't seem to really call for it. And also to go for it when you don't have the upgrades,
and he doesn't have squires either. I mean, you could just wait, do the upgrades, and then
like the Halbs are strict. Can we see a stat check, just like look at a Flemish militia at a certain point here? I just want to see their stats. There's a lot to click here. Sorry, Vodka. Okay, so you got 11 attack. You got 60 HP, but they have like no armor in. And then the Halb, so the Halb's going to be doing decent enough damage, considering they don't have armor. I guess the Halb will still die, but then the Halbs also have armor? I don't really know. The issue here, the reason this looks so dire for Viper, even though his population is good, is look at his eco, 16 Vils. And he also only has 4 TCs.
And he spent a lot of that food he had earlier.
Yeah.
Right? He had all that food banked up, but he had to spend it, and now has to queue the Vils again.
He doesn't actually have the food eco to continually produce Vils. And so once his army dies, he can't make more army. And like, I think TaToH's going to be he's going to be able to make army forever here.
And Viper's population now down to 130.
Oh, man, what in the world was Viper thinking there? It's been such a roller coaster game, right? Like, I feel like it was looking so good. He had the full map, and we saw a great deal of Paladins against Halb, and now this does have the armor now.
But that took a while, and he's lost most of them by the time he's gotten the armor. He's down to 72 now.
Yeah. Can you, like, should they add a tech that allows you to bail on the revolution? So you say, actually, I don't want to revolt anymore. I want to be a man at peace.
Go back.
I just want to go back to my farm. Life was actually much better than I expected.
Maybe they could have that where instead of a button, it's like an on-off switch. You keep going back from one to the other.
I mean, I've seen someone once in community games try and research the other unique tech, and then they did the revolution,
click the button
and they didn't try that. But in this case, I don't think it was a misclick, right? I think it had to be intentional. He already had vineyards
for a long time.
Yeah. Well, he has a big army. The other thing about like the rules of revolution, from my point of view, is if you revolt, you need to have siege ready to push, because you need your army to have some power and not just run into walls. And there's no siege for Viper.
Well, there's also nowhere to push, right? It's a wide open map, and it's not like he was forward and immediately on TaToH's base pushing a castle either. Like, what was he going to push there, even if he had siege?
These poor units, they thought they were going to revolt and make some big change, but they're actually just defending the farm they were working on. We will stampede across the map, and we will take them down. No, you won't, actually. You'll just be running around with a pointy stick.
And look at Viper's eco now. He has 31 vils on food, and that is his economy. No gold income, no wood income, 2-1 stone. That's it.
I mean, if Viper wins this, I'd be curious to hear it in the interview. Because it's still just, it doesn't feel extremely logical from what we saw. Things were bad for Viper. Things were bad for Viper like 5 minutes before that. And he probably felt like he was going to die then. I felt like that feeling lingered. I don't think he felt like this was potentially swinging back for him. I felt like he felt like it was like he needed a miracle, and he had a tech, which could potentially lead to that miracle here. So, I mean, he's up to 50 vils again, and the population's still somewhat even. TaToH's been quite patient against this.
And I guess the good thing is, they're so far apart, TaToH can't really punish him for going for the revolution. TaToH can get a big eco lead and a better stockpile now.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's immediately in a position to force Viper to defend his base.
Hand cannon's a really nice switch here from TaToH. Doesn't have any armor upgrades, but I would actually like to see him consider his own skirms too. Because again, the gold's not really there. This could be a full reset. Like, Viper's military count's going down. His vil count's going back up. He still has the relics.
He's up to 150 pop. I mean, the map is so large that it's hard to have any one decisive play that decides the game, unless they can pull off a king snipe.
This is interesting.
And now we're an hour 15 minutes into the game. I mean, maybe Viper's thinking he can reset it, and then now he can just train those units, right? It's an extra unit he can throw in.
Yep.
I don't know if we've ever actually seen that in a game, someone doing the revolution just to train more Flemish militia.
Yeah.
But they could be useful against the Halbs.
Yeah, honestly. He doesn't have his own Halb upgrade. And like have come in, that was a big snipe there from TaToH we just saw before this on the bombard cannon. And what I thought would happen a little bit earlier was TaToH getting some raids into the new farms that were relatively unprotected. That will start to happen now. And now TaToH's pushing. And I just think TaToH knew. You likely have 200 army, but you can't easily make more after that. I need to be patient and not toss all my units into that army numbers. And now the army number's been chewed down a little bit. He's making his move. And Viper, 150 pop, losing his TC, losing his ranges now.
And losing everything.
He's going to lose everything. Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a bounce-back game from TaToH. The relics are right there as well. Look at the queue. TaToH's got 60 or so army in
and then
queue.
now it's TaToH who has all of the units available. Everything in his army. The hand cannons, the skirms, the monks. He even has... How does he have both elite and feudal skirm in that queue right now?
Capture Age bug, I suppose.
Capture Age can't handle the revolution.
Yeah, I think relics will be ejected here for the Viper. And TaToH can tell. He's like, he doesn't really have anything here. The revolution is completely... nerfed his eco, and when Viper was in a state with the relics, with the Burgundian farms, and had 200 pop, he went for 200 army, and unfortunately it was expensive to go for, and it's risky to do that.
Oh, there's the king. Where's that going? Viper on Garrison the castle, but noticed.
The king thought about a revolution and then saw what happened when his people did it and said, actually, no, thank you. I'd prefer to stay at home. It's kind of weird how Viper like collapsing around this army now. Like he was in the middle of the map.
Skirm's over.
Yeah.
And he might be able to pick off 4 cannons here. They're pretty tanky, but that's a lot of skirms.
The thing is, he's 1 TC. So
he's lost the relics again from those cannons.
You can't make more vils. It's even worse than before with the reboom, right? TaToH's got this one. TaToH knows it as well, I believe. TaToH may lose these cannons. but he's landing some big shots. He's got some nice raids in here. He's not seeing a lot of army from the Viper at all.
And you might see that Desperation TC being added in from Viper just so he can get more vills.
Yeah, and then you need to buy stone for that. But okay, Viper will take out the Hoofnitsa. He clears that up. But now he needs this. He needs an answer to this, and this is what I don't think he has an answer for, if TaToH has his own skirms in the mix.
TaToH's going towers now, too.
Yeah, those are bombard towers.
Bombard towers.
Well. That's crazy. Viper doesn't have siege.
He doesn't have gold for siege anymore.
Yeah.
Especially without the relics now. All he has is the vineyard's income from the farms.
Yeah, he'll reclaim those relics, I'm sure. But he might not have many villagers alive. And the GG is called, and what a win from TaToH. That was crazy.
Wow.
It looked so good for the Viper there at various points, and man, did TaToH have an uphill battle to climb.
Wow, and was Viper dead when he went for that revolution? I don't know. It felt like both of us looked at that and thought, well, he's pushing back. He has a good economy, and all of a sudden threw that economy away just to try to push.
It's very likely that he still would have lost the game. But as we see when the revolution came in, he had 130 or so vills, and he had a very decent chance to clear this without that revolution. He went for it, and part of the problem is your vills were so far away from the fight, it takes a long time for them to come forward. But again, the engagement was taken with no armor. Not even the first armor.
Not even the first armor. he was thinking maybe those cannons are out of position. I might be able to kill 4 Houfnitsa if I do this revolution right away. But the Halbs were enough to defend them at that point.
Oh man, I mean it's not every day that you could question things quite that heavily. I think even before all of that though, Viper made way too many paladins, man. He made way too many. The initial paladins did the job. I loved that. But imagine the gold he banks if he just switches to Hussar. They could still offer the threat of raids. They could
maybe adds in a bit more monks earlier on to deal with the cannons instead of trying to throw all the paladins directly into the Halbs.
Yeah, monks was the big one. Monks was the big one. He eventually got there, but that was when he had no gold. Remember the one instance Viper got a conversion on a bombard cannon? It was right in the middle of his base. Right? What happened after that? TaToH backed up. TaToH was like, oh crap, I'm going to loot. He backed up and shifted elsewhere. You have monks earlier. I think Viper wins that game.
Yeah, it's tricky because the monks don't have the mobility of the paladins, but as long as you have them in your army, you're slowing down TaToH's ability to push. Yeah. And again, you might maybe then force a unit other than Halbs from TaToH to help deal with the monks. Yeah,
that was a crazy game though. That was, man, we saw, I mean, TaToH's whole forward push was cleared. He was out-relicked. He was out-farmed.
Out-farmed.
Viper had both the neutral golds locked down.
He had everything, and he was pushing at the same time. And somehow TaToH, with Bohemians, was able to push the side gold, go forward, and it's just, you don't really have a composition that can clear all of the Halbs at that point if you're the Burgundians, if you're not going for the hand cannoneers or the monks.
One final thing before we shift focus into Game 3. I just gotta commends TaToH again on how wonderfully he controlled 2 separate groups of Halbs and cannons.
Right.
That's so hard. Very, like, usually you're controlling one side and then everything falls apart on the other side. And he was doing that to Viper.
Right, because as soon as you notice your opponent's not paying attention, you have a few Cav, just use them as runners, and you try to pull the Halbs away and go for the cannons. TaToH's not going to let Viper do that.
Or monks.
Or monks.
I mean, in those instances, right? Just the monks.
Because it becomes really hard to figure out where the monks are converting. Because you hear the conversion noise, and you don't necessarily know where the monk is because it's so far away from the rest of your army.
Yeah. I think Viper will want that one back. Hopefully for Viper, he doesn't look back to that game as a game he should have won. If he's knocked out today.
If this is a 3-2 TaToH victory, he will be thinking of that revolution for a long time to come.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to see the draft again because that was a long game, and these are the maps we have upcoming. Will be Viper's choice. He's got 2 home maps. He has Enclosed. He has Arabia. All fine civs for him. I think he's more comfortable on Enclosed, if I had to guess.
What civ does he pick on Enclosed, though? He doesn't have one of the civs we've been seeing so much on it, maybe Vietnamese. I feel like he's mostly comfortable if he, say, had the Chinese on Enclosed.
Yeah, he for whatever reason, Chinese always seems to be available for Viper on Enclosed.
Yeah, but today was admin banned.
He's always a beast with it. I think Vietnamese. I have recent memories of him trying that. It suits his style, the opportunity to open scouts, the cheeky early eco upgrades, play cav archers, play crossbowmen. They're just very solid overall. And It's also his second pick on the draft, and enclosed is his first Civ pick, map pick. So I think that just like lines up. That should probably be his rebound choice.
Okay. The other option, we were kind of discussing Franks. That was kind of the old meta on that map, where you'd be heavily farming inside of your enclosure, and then later going maybe even for more paladins. I mean, we could see him try paladins again if he goes Franks on that map.
Yeah.
But I'm still just wondering, where does he pick Franks? It was not an end of the draft pick, like a throwaway pick just to counter something. It was an early pick, and I don't really see where it goes. I mean, does he try Franks on Arabia maybe?
I think Franks will only be played if by game 4 or 5 he can use process elimination to know he's fine. Like in the matchup, that could be remaining. But right now, there's too many questionable possibilities. So to go Franks when you could go up against like Persians, like TaToH could go Persians here and Lithuanians on Coast Mountain, that could be tough. Byzantines is kind of tricky. There's 6 civs and there's 5 games. I would bet. Well, do you see that guy's costume?
Oh, I did not.
That was sick. Can you
walk
back
that
here?
is an awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I want to. Does he have armor? Do we need
to try some throwing axemen to see how little damage they do?
Hopefully, he at least researched the first armor upgrade.
Oh yeah. Hopefully, that's not a failed revolution.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Franks probably won't be played. Back to my point. There's just every civ that's remaining for TaToH can be good against the Franks.
Yeah, and I mean, on all these maps, I wonder if we do enclosed, is that potentially a Romans play from TaToH?
Potentially, yes.
A map that usually can go very late game, where the Romans, with their 5% economy boost to everything, have one of the best economies in the game.
I think not only is there potential for that, but there's potential for some crazy all-in style from TaToH, like some weird fast castle shenanigans there. I would say, if I did say TaToH's going to go Persians on Coast Mountain when we see that, he will go. Enclosed is actually kind of tricky for me.
I mean, maybe Lithuanians could even be Coast Mountain if he wants to save Persians for Arabia.
TaToH likes to go forward sometimes. I think he may go Byzantines on Enclosed and go forward with trash to make it messy.
That's an option.
That's a good option. And then I think Romans is on Arabia. I have a memory where TaToH actually played Viper on Arabia with Romans. It was Romans, Malians. Some chatters will remember that. And yeah, it ended up being kind of a boom adapty game. And then lots of Scorpions with ballistics and GG for the Viper. So,
well, that's what we expect anywhere from Romans, right? Lots of Scorpions with ballistics.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, Berbers feel like they have to be the Coast Mountain pick for Viper.
I think so.
I mean, does Viper go Vietnamese enclosed, Berbers Coast Mountain, and then either Mayans or Franks for Arabia, save Arabia for the final game, and just try to pick whatever he thinks based on the Civ matchup?
Actually, I figured it out. Mayans can really struggle against all-in Scorpions, like we talked about before. Viper wanted a backup for Arabia. In the event we go to Arabia late, and Romans is still available for TaToH.
And then he goes Franks.
And then he would go Franks, I think.
Franks versus Romans. How does that matchup work? I mean, Franks, the very clean and smooth Arabia Civ, but very cav focused against Romans who do have an infantry focus that might be able to counter that.
It's weirdly enough somehow more doable and comfortable than Mayans against Romans, because at least you have more mobility with knights, and then if you can get to bombard cannons, you can deal with all those Scorpions.
Right, you have the bombard cannons and the good cav, which usually are the two components you want for dealing with Scorpions.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it is really expensive, but as long as you have an eco behind it, and Franks do have that really smooth eco with the free farming upgrades, the better berries, that you can maybe get to that late game composition. And also something that you can deal with Scorpions is castles. They have the discounted castles.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of castles all over the map, you limit where the Scorpions can be used.
Yeah. Well, it seems like we have a bit of a break here. I haven't heard word. I don't know. Players can take a break in the series, so I don't know if there's a full break or if we have a tech issue or whatnot. Apparently, Viper taking his short break is what we've heard, so maybe a bit of a refresh for him.
He'll go say hi to Eustace and think of his strategy choices.
Yeah. I would say that because of everything that we've said, Viper has to go Enclosed now. You don't want to go Arabia now because there's too many guessing games involved. So you go Enclosed, take it from there. If we eventually get a game 5, then I would foresee that maybe that ends up being Arabia.
We could also see TaToH doing that Byzantines forward you talked about on Arabia, going for the forward skirm spear approach. I've seen him do that a lot, even in tournaments.
Yeah. I would expect. There's lots of possibilities here for TaToH, but I mean, dude, what a win. Like, I know that obviously there's some questions to be asked because we expect absolute perfection all the time on Viper's side from that second game, especially because it started off so good. But, like, the sign of a beastly player is when they can turn it around, right? A lot of people can get ahead and stay ahead because this game has a tendency to snowball. But when things turn around on you on the biggest stage, to win in that fashion was just crazy there from TaToH. There's his steely focus.
Yeah, he is focused there. He's locked in.
He is one of the only players I know that always listens to music when he plays a tournament.
He always listens to music when he plays, period.
Yeah, like he never plays without it. And it's not, sorry guys, but it's not the Age of Empires music.
It's not the soundtrack that I listen to when I play the game.
It's not Schamberger.
It's not Taser.
No. There's a lot of weird titles. If you look up the Age of Empires
there are
titles,
yeah.
Something's about eating crickets. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll look it up. Go ahead.
You look it up. There's I Shall Beat on Your Behind. That's a good title.
Oh my god. Let's see. Age of Empires. I might not be able to load it here, actually.
This is the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Betraying us.
Unfortunately, that is indeed the case. But unimportant. People can look at it themselves.
People can listen to it themselves. People with their CDs. Do you remember back in the early 2000s, you put your CD in your CD player and listen to the UV2 soundtrack?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I think everybody does. A lot of people might be watching, and they got the disc in cereal boxes back in the day. Here we go. It is Arabia, and so we talked a lot about what we could potentially see here. And Viper goes for the Franks, which we expected he might do.
We were thinking maybe he'd save Arabia for Game 5 when the civs are eliminated. He could take that Franks or Mines pick, guessing that TaToH would go Romans. But I think he gets what he wanted, just Franks against Romans on Arabia anyway.
Yeah, it's still weird because, like, I think Romans should in many ways be a very good civ against Franks. But I think the way the draft played out, Franks are better than the Mayans would have maybe been. Honestly, props to TaToH already for the draft. The fact that he's been able to present that situation where the Mayans aren't.
Do you think maybe Viper picked the Mayans with his last pick just to try to get TaToH into going Romans on Arabia so he could get the Franks?
Maybe. It's hard to say. I think if anything, Viper he doesn't want to be, you never want to be in a situation where you have no counters. And there was definitely that potential option with how well TaToH likes to play the Romans. So Romans, 5% greater efficiency with everything they do. So one of the best eco civs in the game. Their weakness is how inflexible they are with their tech tree. Their strengths are infantry and scorpions. How does that pan out against the Franks on paper?
Well, Franks, we talked about the throwing axemen earlier. Maybe that could be an option against the infantry, because when you're doing them, you're adding in lots of castles to break the positions where scorpions can push anyway.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is quite slow. You have to get to the castles. There's a lot of things you have to do to get there.
They also do have hand cannoneers. That's a bit more late game.
Yeah, hand cannons. And I think the real thing you want against Romans in late game is just the bombard cannons. You could use 2 cannons from distance to just hit all those scorpions, and the scorpions are no longer a threat. But the Franks are going to go knights. I kind of like the Romans here. You can play the pikemen, maybe mix in a couple monks, play defensive, boom up. TaToH likes to do that. He likes to let his eco cook on 2 to 3 TCs. He's not very aggressive in Castle Age usually. And then he'll drop double Siege Workshop and mix in the scorpions in the middle of Castle Age.
And we see TaToH up to feudal already, 19 pops. So it looks like he's probably not going to be going for that phosphorus style straight fast castle into scorpions. He's going to play a more standard game and try to look for the scorpions later on.
Yeah, and you might think you're at a disadvantage in going scouts, but not really, right? Because when it's a scout war, you add spearmen, and Roman spearmen have extra armor, and then also scout builds are pretty good for your economies, and you have 5% greater efficiency. So this is overlooking the Frank bonuses, by the way. They still have the forage bonus. They still have the farm bonus. So it's a good economic save as well, as Viper's going to go archers here, T-West.
Ooh, interesting. And remember, the Romans do also have access to bloodlines. So even though you have less HP at the start of feudal, if you end up in a prolonged feudal engagement, by the end of feudal, you end up having more HP on your scouts.
So I think the logic here is if you just open scouts, v-scouts, the Roman player plays heavy spear, and then your scouts don't accomplish a lot, right? what this does is this forces the Roman player into less spearmen, and then mainly into skirms, which they really aren't good at. And then it opens up the potential for the scouts. So it's kind of a setup play for the scouts, if I could explain it that way.
Yeah, and now the question is how aggressive does Viper try to be with the archers? Does he do one spear and send the archers forward immediately? Or does he just kind of camp at home and try to defend with the archers, maybe wait for an opportunity to sneak them around and then do damage later?
It all depends on what he sees. We need to see his scouting right now. That answers your question. If he sees that it's a stable, which he does not, then he will likely be aggressive.
And
With a spearman.
Let's talk about that map for a second, though, for the Viper. Look at the right side of his base. There's no wood line there. Like, how does he ever wall that area of the map? His barriers are there. The gold, even though it's in the back, it feels like it's not that safe. He can wall the left, but the right-hand side will be wide open.
Yeah, TaToH's main gold very forward, though. And also, no real safe wood lines long term. So back to my point, though, if that's great scouting from Viper, because Viper should recognize that TaToH saw the gold and knows it's archers. And so a lot of times you scout that, you don't go stable in the first place in TaToH's position, you go skirmishers. So obviously, would it be a mistake for Viper to ever move out against immediate skirm opening? Now he knows it's scouts, he runs into the scouts, he gets some hits, and he's on the way forward. TaToH can't really do anything about that right now, but he's got the range at home to make the skirms now.
Yeah, although he has to be very careful about those scouts running around. He's walled for now, and he has a spear, but that still has lots of potential for damage early on, or later on, if he ever can get an archer unit added in.
Oh man, I don't know what
that was a
happened
great
there.
spear.
Yeah, that spearman gets a kill, and then TaToH runs right back through it. Makes me think it was a misclick there. And Viper in a pretty nice spot. Now, I'm really curious to see, does he keep 4 on gold? Does he keep making archers, or does he actually pull them off of gold soon and go really heavy on food and start to add scouts? He could still do the combination with the Vils on gold. It just takes a little bit more time. And here he is now, TaToH bracing himself for this. But yeah, really desperate times with the micro incoming.
Yeah, and now a few archers and a couple of spears, but TaToH now with the skirm. So it'll be scout skirm against archer spear and whatever Viper transitions to after that. Adding in the blacksmith and town watch even for TaToH.
And TaToH under pressure here. Forgot a house. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of armies to move around. And so he will be down a Vil compared to Viper now. But the skirms are out. And so this is where the scouts would be the right move for the Viper. Key for him is he just needs to get back home with that army to wait for the scouts. And that his own scout there gave him the opportunity, I think.
And there is that stable you were looking for.
Yeah, some players will actually pull some of their Vils off gold right now. Like, obviously, you want to continuously make the archers, but that's also more wood invested into the archers.
And also as Franks, you're never going to need that gold for bloodlines.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you can produce out of that stable nonstop and the range nonstop, this is going to be absolutely sick. And it seems like Viper's in a position soon where he can do that. It's just the farm count's a little low, and that's where things get tricky here. But I think with the berries, I think if he continuously builds farms, yeah, Viper should have a pretty solid army here. TaToH should know this is coming, though. There's no way this will surprise TaToH. He should recognize this.
Yeah, now there's still that hill out there for Viper, so even though the skirms can move forward, Viper doesn't feel like he needs to move off of that hill.
Yeah, now, Scout Skirm, you have a crazy eco setup for food and wood. This is all combined with the fact that the Romans have the efficiency. So in theory, Archer Scout is superior just because the Scouts will die faster to Archers than they will the Skirms, but it takes longer and a more difficult eco setup to get to Viper's comp. Skirmishers mass a little bit faster, so...
Yeah, and that also depends on the numbers of units that you have. If you don't have enough archers to kill the scouts can just get a good jump on your army.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's all going to be micro-dependent here, but look at TaToH sending the scouts forward. See, Viper, he was commanding so much respect with his army over the last few minutes. I think he's expecting that TaToH will, oh my goodness, I think he's expecting that TaToH will have all of his army here.
And that's perfect for TaToH, right? We see that Viper didn't have enough scouts there to deal with the skirms, so TaToH can pick off an archer or two and then just run back.
Honestly, though, that was an opportunity for Viper to use those scouts against the skirms. Those skirms moved out, no spearmen around, and Viper, I think, was just kind of caught off guard there. He lost an archer, he was like, what? And then he had to defend from the scouts at home, so good from TaToH. Now that you sit behind the walls, Yeah, the archers from Viper can't accomplish anything.
And he wants to move out. He thinks he has enough skirms, even with the scouts there. Oh, and he's going to come around and try to jump.
That's
One spear.
All right, TaToH pretty confident. Viper doesn't have the biggest scout meat shield in front.
Yeah, and this is where if you have the skirms, you can kind of ignore the scouts and run towards the archers, even if you're getting hit by the scouts, and try to pick the archers off.
Yeah. If Viper adds 2 more scouts, though, I mean, it's teetering on danger levels. Viper doesn't want to, it seems.
Yeah, it all depends on the scout numbers, what type of engagement they can take.
Yeah. And TaToH walling up. Viper doing the same. Viper definitely saving up for Castle Age. What I like about Viper's position, it's crazy there's only been 2 kills this game, by the way, but I just love how he's going to have a really nice crossbow mass to work with. And the skirm investment from TaToH, the armor, fletching, hasn't paid off. Like, TaToH's still not walled, so he's expecting Viper to attack him. And when you invest into these upgrades, you're hoping to get more kills than he's got so far.
Right, and now you're at that point where you can transition to the Castle Age, do crossbow, and suddenly get a power spike where you can hit vills.
Yeah.
Or break through palisade walls and cause some chaos in the opponent's base. The skirmishers don't really give you that same power spike, and you kind of have to play defensive if you know the crossbow is going to be somewhere around your base.
TaToH seems really confused right now. Like, he doesn't know where that army is, and he wants to break through. Viper shouldn't allow him to, and Viper with the 2 house walls there prevents the scouts from getting through in the final moments. And TaToH will be looking, and he'll get his answer. He'll see the archers there. Just, I couldn't tell what TaToH was going to do. I think he was so scared to move out because he knew Viper added scouts. And then Viper just backed off, and now TaToH's not completely walled. TaToH's later to Castle Age, and Viper will have a really crazy army to work with.
And scout fight here. I mean, Viper, again, still has that extra HP, so able to take that. And his army is right where he wants it right now.
Yep.
Forward and in time for the upgrades to come in.
Yep, and I think Viper is in a great position to bounce back after some crazy moments. I think we'll just leave it at with the second game. If you didn't see that one, you're absolutely going to need to rewatch it. It was crazy stuff. Both the golds are there. Viper's brought a villager forward, and Viper's going to go siege workshop with this army. This could end this game quickly if TaToH doesn't find a response.
Okay, and what do you do from that workshop? Do you do mangonels right away, anticipating scorpions, or do you go ram? Do you go scorpion?
I'd like to see mangonel because the opponent has skirms. I think the opponent doesn't have skirms. You could maybe consider a ram. But this is a good opportunity with this hill to just never leave it. And then TaToH will have a desperate time breathing with his economy here.
I think it might actually be interesting to go for the ram just to clear that forward stable so you never have knights coming out and chasing you from behind on the mangonels.
Yeah. I think if you don't add a monastery, you got to go ram because the mangonel's too vulnerable. But I think if Viper also adds a monastery and just has a monk waiting, then the knight threat might not be quite as crazy. The scouts could be an issue, though, so a lot to pay attention to here. Something tells me TaToH doesn't know he has that gold in the back. No, never mind. He's placing TC there. Just a lot to focus on right now for TaToH. And it's tough to get elite skirm. He's getting bodkin arrow, but no elite skirm. He's getting bloodlines for just 6 scouts. It's just being off of gold is brutal.
And he doesn't have the eco to afford the upgrades he needs, and there will be that mangonel. Now, Viper needs a way to defend that mangonel. Maybe the scouts with bloodlines now could try to jump it. But that's still a good number of crossbows on a hill. And let's not discount how powerful it is to have the hill there for the crossbows.
Viper's had such a good game. Like, he's found the elite level timings. He had the smooth opening, forced some heavy reactions from the opponent. And now in Castle Age, this is as deadly as it gets. Forward siege, knights and crossbows, solid upgrades. Behind it, his eco's looking good. He knows that TaToH might look for reinforcements and that he's tracking that with the 2 knights.
And he's fully walled, too, on that right-hand side. That wide open area in Viper's base has a wall on it.
Yeah, it's just... TaToH fell into this position against Kingston yesterday, where he just kind of hopes that his opponent will make a mistake, maybe through a counterattack or maybe leaving the siege. And he's hoping that when that mistake happens, he can go back onto his gold, he can start to produce army. But right now, 3 TCs against this much army just feels like too much almost. But I don't know what else you do against this much.
Yeah, like he still doesn't have a great way to deal with the mangonel, and he has to be hoping that in the long run he gets more vills and eventually can fight it. Even a counter siege workshop at this point is tricky because of all the knights Viper has.
Yeah, absolutely. Third TC now from Viper. Viper will know he doesn't actually need to add a lot more to this push. He just needs to get as much value from it as possible. TaToH will go for a dive. He'll take the Mangonel.
Will he take it? Okay, he does.
It was costly, though, right? I think he lost some of his scouts. I guess it's still a couple scouts, so it's probably good. But it doesn't change the situation. His TC is not going to go down as fast, but it doesn't actually deal with this threat, which is only going to get worse.
Yeah, and Viper still has that army running around. He's going to look to try to find more spots to hit. TaToH has been on stone in the back, and not enough for a castle though. Maybe he'll try even another TC.
I think the key here for Viper is you do not eject that Mangonel. You just wait for later. If that Mangonel tries to go forward, that's a problem.
Yeah, it can't.
He keeps it in the siege workshop. TaToH will get a clear up. That could be a counterattack coming from TaToH, but he's off that stone, and he was banking up that stone to eventually try and build a castle here.
And those are still feudal age skirms. TaToH still has not been able to afford elite skirms, so the crossbows can dance around them.
Yeah. He clearly wanted elite skirmisher,
and just couldn't afford it.
but he just couldn't afford it. Yeah.
He needed to pump out nice to deal with the Mangonel, and elite skirm is just not an option for him yet.
I love this push from Viper and the fact that he's looped around the back. In other instances, you could easily be critical of it, but look at TaToH's food count. Now he's expanding his farms onto the front because he can't take the back. So, yeah, okay, Viper's siege workshop's going to go down, whatever. But Viper's just completely out-booming him here. And any army TaToH sends to Viper's base, Viper might be able to match soon because he's making more knights from him.
And look at that, 8.5 minutes of idle TC time and counting for TaToH. Viper only a minute 40. His 3 TCs are now going to be much more efficient.
Yeah. We haven't seen heavy spearmen play from Romans. We haven't seen scorpions from Romans. And
You
this
haven't seen the stuff they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of this is because of Viper's archer opening, right? Like, he opened archers, and he dictated the flow of the game so nicely. He runs right through there. He's going to group up with these knights with the original crossbows, and TaToH still has no answer. He's just spending so much time in and out of his town centers.
Yeah, and even though it's only 5 villager kills, all of those farms have been idled for so long, causing that idle time on the TC.
Yeah. Do you think Viper goes forward castle here? Because he's on stone right now.
I think he do whatever he wants here. He's adding a 4th TC.
Okay.
He's going to play this safe, right? It's a tournament game. He's going to play this as safe as he can. Not going to do a doubt castle. Just going to... He knows he has an advantage, and he knows he's in a great spot.
Well, I mean, he did go for the Flemish Revolution in a tournament game.
I mean, maybe he thought he was losing there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. He also, the first game, he had an elite kind of just like this. And remember that castle he almost placed? It got a little dicey.
He pulled it back later on. He thought better of it.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason I wouldn't want to forward castle this very second is because most of your army is actually in the back. If you loop your army around to the front and you have control, then I'd love to see the forward castle.
Although, to be fair, he's about to destroy all the farms that were in the back. He could just go to the front again.
I'd love to see maybe the damage dealt stat on these crossbows right now. 7k damage and 5 kills. Like, a lot of that damage is against farms. +2 armor for TaToH. I honestly, well played from TaToH to get up to 14 knights, to get back on gold somehow. But now Viper's made it through.
He's on both sides. And again, idle farmers for TaToH.
And just
this is a good fight for Viper too.
Also, especially
the hill.
Some of TaToH's knights weren't engaging, but I think he knew Viper full control and Viper back in business and up 2-1.
Ooh, and what a clean game from Viper.
So good.
We talked about that in that first game, how smooth it felt for Viper, how cleanly he played, and that felt even better.
TaToH is going to regret not tracking the army there from Viper. You have a lot of different decisions to make there, but when you invest into that many skirms in feudal age, you're delaying your castle time. But that's okay if you're able to collapse on the archers.
And clear the archers before they become crossbows.
Yeah, and he was hesitant and he lost track. A lot of that was because Viper Scouts Edition. And I also think the other important aspect was TaToH wasn't fully walled. You're not going to move out until you're fully walled. So he stayed at home. No one wants to move out, only for the archers to come into their walls.
And because Viper had gone for that archer opening at the start, even though he wasn't fully walled too, at the beginning TaToH could run around with the scouts, not really find damage with the small walls, and at that point the army shifts and moves forward towards where TaToH isn't walled.
Yeah, it was really well played. So yeah, Viper bounces back, and like that is the elite level Viper can bring. In game number 2, We saw it as well, and then it at a certain point, it flipped.
It flipped.
But he didn't allow it to happen.
At a certain point, he pressed the button.
Yeah. So we've got 2 more maps. I'd love to see the draft again. And again, more process of elimination being utilized now. We kind of have strong ideas of what could be played. We just saw Arabia, so that's out of the way for Viper. He hasn't closed. And then
Costa Mountain for
TaToH is Costa Mountain, yeah. Which
we were thinking maybe Berbers versus Persians, Berbers versus Lithuanians on this map.
Yeah, but like your TaToH, you need 2 straight wins. Your best civ, and at least based on the draft, your best map is Costa Mountain. Do you go for that now in Game 4, or do you save that for Game 5 and get the quote-unquote hardest match out of the way now?
Well, you have to win both.
Yeah.
You have to win both.
It's weird with some players.
What you feel. Some players prefer saving it for Game 5 and having the more confidence level there. Some players prefer just winning as many games as you can and leaving Game 5 to be whatever's left.
I don't think TaToH really needs... Well, everyone needs confidence. But I don't think he needs that confidence boost before Game 5 here. Like, I don't think he needs that. I also don't know if that's going to put immense levels of pressure on the Viper. So I could see him just saving his home map, honestly. And he doesn't.
He doesn't.
It was a 50-50.
And Berbers Persians.
And, yeah, Berbers Persians. And it's actually a nomad start. The players usually build their TC right away. And, oh, my goodness, there's villagers on the shoreline right now.
There's a camel there.
This is, what on earth is happening here? We got some quick walls.
That's TaToH's camel there, I believe, and trying to block Viper's villager.
That is actually TaToH's villager. He's playing with team colors, which is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, we just swapped colors, okay.
But if this villager goes down, this is absolutely horrible for TaToH. He needs to quick wall this, and Viper's he's done such a good job to know you're going to always see a dock from the opponent on the shoreline. Viper's got the faster villager with Berbers, and Viper's going to get the villager kill. That is huge.
That is absolutely huge, and as you said, the faster-moving villas for the Berbers on this map, they don't really have a great eco bonus for the early game, but it lets you get the dock somewhere. And look at how far forward that dock is. That villager walked all the way across the map.
Yeah, that was intentional. He didn't even go forward that way for the dock. He went forward as part of the strategy, knowing that the Persian build is early dock, and he's going to do it himself there. And so now this Persian eco, which we get so excited about, is heavily slowed down because you lose the Vil, and your dock's delayed. So the Berber player will actually pass in eco count here in Dark Age.
Right, because the Persians have that extra 50 food and 50 wood in the Dark Age. It lets them get that dock up nice and early, and now whatever advantage you had is just gone.
Is TaToH going to try another dock here? Because he hasn't... Okay, there's a Vil now, but look at his wood. He wanted to spend that.
He has 348 wood in the Dark Age.
Yeah, that's really sick there from Viper. And honestly, I think this simplifies your game plan as well from here on out. I don't even care if Viper doesn't make a single ship on water beyond fishing ships. Just getting the food early gives you the edge in feudal, and you want that against the Persians so you can maybe wall up and eventually think about camel archers long term. Lots to wall, of course. Viper just going to lame some of the hunt as well. But yeah, what a great move there from Viper. We knew about the faster Berber Vils to help you yourself economically, but to use it offensively like that was crazy.
And is he going to kill that elephant? Will the elephant get a diagonal hit? No, it won't. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. You forget about the villain, it kills you diagonally over those walls.
And so I'm awful at trying to count elephants on the mini-map, but I think that would mean that TaToH should get 3 elephants.
Usually the map is 4 elephants per player.
Okay.
So if he lames that, it's 3 for TaToH, and
there's the
one
other
more
one
remaining.
There's a good chance TaToH doesn't actually know about the other one, though, because there's been a lot of camel activity. And
it might wander into his vision there.
Yeah, but he's up. He did end up getting a dock. I'd like to see Viper scouting again. Crazy how much scouting's involved, but Viper doesn't know there's a dock now because that's not their typical dock position. The Viper's camel's going to be there. I think TaToH is actually slightly tempted to wall in the camel.
if that camel just went down that little passageway, it would have been walled in.
Viper's up 2-1. He's had an amazing start. I feel like that villager's going to do something else here.
Oh, look at that fill in the back. I mean, TaToH should know it's there because of the laming.
I think, like, this is Viper we're talking about. This is going to... We need to give this villager a name, and this villager is going to set up the whole rest of the game here. Like, maybe a barracks, maybe an archer range.
I mean, more laming on those deer. I I mean, TaToH, he can see the deer or the zebra is dying to the villager.
Yeah.
He should know there's something there.
But the thing is,
he might not pay attention to it.
the Vill's faster, so you can't really justify
it, right?
If that's me with that Vill, TaToH goes after it. But it's Viper.
And he's going to get the elephant. He's heading straight for the elephant.
TaToH didn't see the elephant, did he?
And he's going to get the goat.
I don't think TaToH... Well, maybe he does know. The Viper kills the goat. The goat
But Viper
killing
just
the
needs
goat.
to wall the Vill and then get the elephant.
I don't
TaToH
think
doesn't
TaToH
see
even
it.
knows the elephant's there. Yeah.
And he gets the wall.
And now the elephant.
TaToH
Okay,
needs to
TaToH
shoot
will
the elephant.
de-aggro it with the house or something?
Viper's going to de-aggro with a house over the corner somewhere or a gate.
TaToH will try. De-aggro. Steal. Nope,
The
still going
timing
after
on that
Viper.
is so hard.
And Viper quick balls again. TaToH tries to de-aggro again. How much HP does this elephant have? De-aggro again? I don't think this elephant's getting home to TaToH's base. It's got to be very weak right now. And
it's not.
Down it goes.
So 2 elephants, 2 groups of zebras, a goat, and a denied dock from 1 Berber villager so far.
And TaToH is adding fire galleys to go kill Viper's fish. We can't forget Persian Eco. Remember that game from Hera where things were so brutal for him at times and he just kept recovering? Persians are still probably the #1 civil on this map, maybe right behind Chinese, if not that. But walls are coming up there from TaToH. Viper's been super focused on land, and now his first fishing ship will go down. I still think this is fine, though. Like I said before, I think you can give Persians 2 fishing ships as long as you don't fall behind in other areas, and that's not the case right now for Viper.
And what's TaToH going to do? Mill those killed zebras. They've already lost a lot of food. They start with 140, already down under 100.
I hope we're not making Vodka work too hard for the first series, but I would love to see scouting again from TaToH just to see, does he know it's even scouts on the way? Because there's a lot that needs to be looked for right now. He saw the barracks. And
he did see the scout and the camel.
Yep, and now he sees the stable. So he'll need a lot of spears at home. This will be tough work here for both, but especially for TaToH because it's a big map to wall, and you need to transition your economies onto all the different areas of hunt, and also eventually farms. That's cheeky as well there from TaToH. He's actually using his spear to kill the zebra.
So that it doesn't have any
And Viper will shoot the zebra before the
spear gets to it.
Yeah, and if you don't know, guys, if a spear kills the zebra, you can't eat it. Don't ask me why. I don't know if it infects it or something. It's like a rusty spear, but that's just how the game works. And, oh, man.
He was not going to kill an elephant with 1 spear, unfortunately. As much as he would have liked to.
That was definitely a misclick. And I'm liking Viper's start. I think if these scouts get through, this will be the perfect position for him. And those scouts probably going to make it through right now. There is a spearman there, but Viper could still just linger back there. And you could just feel that TaToH has no control over this game right now.
And Viper's just going to run around with the scouts, and it's just so hard to clear them when all you have are spears and you have such a large area in the back of your base.
It's so good for Viper to go fast archer follow-up. I mean, this whole game has been an absolute masterpiece from him. You're obviously hoping that he can keep it up, but this is so good. He's even made TaToH work really hard with his focus on killing those fishing ships. He's lost every one, but he made TaToH chase him in multiple directions. And so TaToH's hoping for spear defense and chill, but once archers arrive on that wood line, on the walls, spear defense might not end up working at all.
And I love how Viper just ignored those walls and ran right through the TC.
Yep.
That's the tricky thing against scouts. If you don't have that full wall off, the TC is just kind of ignored.
Very possible here that if TaToH's not paying attention, that camel is used to block walls and also to just distract the spearmen. Because depending on the stance of the spearmen, they will follow
They'll chase the camel
at the closest military unit for the enemy. Or camel's not necessarily military, but still, it can distract.
Okay, nice couple of pokes on the scouts there.
But here, the camel needs to be blocking wall potential, right? Like that's at least what I'm thinking. And TaToH trying some walls here. And the archers are sitting there with fletching. The spears can't come over. TaToH needs to wall behind that somehow. Oh, he's going to drop a tower.
Can he do the tower with all those scouts there? 1 spear goes down.
Oh, this is horrible for TaToH. If he loses
Both
this,
spears go down.
If he loses this, he is out of the tournament.
He can't re-wall with the scouts blocking it.
Oh, this is so good from the Viper. This is so good. This whole game has been so good. Villagers going down, more villagers going down. And I think even if the army doesn't get through, Viper's already so happy with this. He kills 3 villagers. The tower might go up, make it 4 villagers now. This is after the villager at the start of the game. That's going to be another snipe, and Viper says, go ahead, have your tower. I'm happy with this. I've done enough damage.
Yeah, those scouts got so much value, so much idle time too, trying to get that wall up and get the tower up. And now, what's that, a market for TaToH. He did clean the water at least. So Viper, it's a 6-4 eco KD because Viper did lose whatever fish he had.
Okay, so there is a tendency, which Viper fans will find disappointing at times, after a great start like this, where Viper does not do something. Do you know what I'm implying here? Is anything coming to mind?
What are you implying here?
He gets a lead, and he just doesn't wall, right? He just doesn't wall.
Okay.
Like, it's such a good build-up.
And we see he's not walled yet, like TaToH is all the way up the mountain.
Exactly. That's how you lose this game now, is if you don't keep your position steady here. And I'd like to see Viper just wall up that mountain, protect the gold, protect the wood. Both are on the way to Castle Age, but the difference is TaToH is a little bit more protected, right?
Right. And right now, the res collected difference about 400 more for Viper, so it's not a huge difference going up so far.
Yeah.
And against the Persians, it's nice to be ahead, but they can always make up the difference with their faster working TCs, and also the fact that TaToH has the water control.
Oh man, that Viper was not paying attention, and TaToH wasn't paying attention. That could have been the spears down there. So nice job here from TaToH. Moving out here to take care of these archers, but Viper's not really worried about archers now. Like, he's going to play through the stable and probably make some cheap knights and camels, and TaToH's going to do the exact same. But isn't it crazy how the res collected is so close, considering all the damage that Viper's done?
Absolutely. And TaToH has recovered from this pretty well, getting the dock up, getting the fish out, winning the water. And yeah, he took some Vil losses, but he did stay walled. It's not like Viper got in with the archers.
I don't think TaToH knows that Viper's coming back on water, though. Sneaky dock, and if Viper just waits a little bit, can probably swoop out there and take those fish.
Do you do War Galley if you're Viper and try to get fire ships instead of just fire galleys? That's expensive.
It's tough. I think you have to go for the eco choices here. If you can go for Bowsaw, you can make a camel and make a couple villagers, of course. I think do War Galley as well if it's still there. But I don't think I would want to see Viper miss out on those techs. And
he's doing it.
War Galley. Yeah, there you go.
And the thing is that fire ships destroy fishing ships really quickly, whereas fire galleys don't. That's the big difference if you're trying to get back on the water and stop someone from fishing.
Viper's base wide open here, and the opponent's going to be sending some units forward eventually.
And spears against the knights even, that's not what Viper wants to run into right now.
Nice recognition from TaToH, but Viper pulls back the weak knight. The weak trash units won't do enough.
That's still a lot of damage to the knights.
Yeah.
For a small leftover feudal army.
Well, and now Viper, he's going to go for the monastery at home, which does delay his TC in that area, and War Galley upgrade. TaToH finds out the hard way, Viper's back on water.
Yeah, losing the fishing ships and down without War Galley himself. It's not like he can just add that in and come back on the water. That would be a big investment for him at this point.
But TaToH's like, okay, I've had 4 fishing ships. You've had 0 for a long time. That's fine by me. And I'm Persians. I'm going to transition towards the town centers anyways. Still some Vils exposed for Viper. He is protecting them, and he is going to wall up on the outside now. But earlier in the game, Viper sold some of his stone, so he can't match the TC count. He only will have 2 TCs after that one, and it's 3 TCs for TaToH. So it feels like a game that will very much go late at the moment.
Yeah, that it does. And we'll have booming from both players adding the TCs, and look at how even those Vil counts are at 44 to 44.
Yeah. I don't think Viper will add fish. Maybe 1 or 2 won't hurt.
The fish on this map are also really spaced out and far from the docks. You don't get much value from them.
Yeah, not very efficient, one could say.
Yeah, at least the Berber fishing ships do move a bit faster.
Yeah, that's true.
So that helps, but still not the greatest.
So 45 eco versus 47. TaToH has caught up in that regard. Eco upgrades are similar, but better for Viper. But there's been no real active army control from TaToH. He's got 2 light cav running around, trying to stop some monks from bringing in the relics, but Viper's got knights and camels out there, And so Viper's Vills, they are exposed, but they've been kind of protected by the army. And there's the stone purchase from Viper. And he will go for a town center. But he's still heavily enough on stone where I think he wants camel archers, which I think is the go-to unit here in this match.
I think it is, and that TC is going to be outside of his walls, even. Trying to secure a bit more position on that mountain for another gold. And, I mean, castle positioning on the mountain for securing golds, if he wants to go camel archers especially, can be really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of this game is going to come down to who controls that upper area. There's 3 golds along there. And TaToH should also recognize that's probably where Viper will put his eco, because that's what he's done. So usually you see big army play from the player who won't go for the castle and Siege Workshop to try and push that position.
And TaToH's a player who does like that big army play in the Castle Age. We saw that huge Castle Age ram push against Hera, and that's something he's really good at doing, that Castle Age play.
Yeah, I brought up to TaToH before any of the games this week. I said, TaToH, and I always add this, I'm like, you're a beast. You know, I'm a noob compared to you, but this is something I've noticed, right? And I just pointed out the late wheelbarrow. It's such a thing with him.
Late wheelbarrow and late bowsaw.
Yeah.
Both of them, Viper already has, TaToH doesn't.
It's just, and I asked him about it, and he's like, I'm aware, I'm so late with wheelbarrow. Sometimes he won't get it till he has 120 villagers. And he's like, it's because I have no res, man. I have no res, because he just spends it so fast, and you have no chill when you're in a game like this to really think about maybe pausing, canceling 2 or 3 villagers, and researching the technology.
Or even 2 or 3 military units like Campbell's just to get wheelbarrow.
Yeah. But it's funny, he said he realized he didn't have wheelbarrow in the game against Hera because he clicked his vills across the map to build a castle, and
they were slow.
They took forever to get there, yeah.
Yeah, because it makes your vills faster too. That's part of how it makes them more efficient. They carry more and they're faster.
Yeah. Because does TaToH know about Viper's TC positions? Man, this is a crazy eco for Viper. Yeah, he doesn't seem to know. He knows about that one, and TaToH doesn't know about anything on the hill. He's just struggled moving out.
Because usually the hill is what you scout, but you can also just kind of assume your opponent's there sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for him to move through the middle. Viper's got vision with some buildings. Viper's got some army activity there.
He has some camels out there, so camels can deal with anything that TaToH does to try to scout too.
Yeah. And Viper about to get relic number 3. I think
that's good, grabbing the relic for the late game that far forward.
I think the 5th one is over there. And Viper knows about it. That light cav's killed a monk or 2. And I think TaToH will end up getting that one. So I would say Viper's in a pretty good spot here because while he is behind in vills, he'll be able to get to Camel Archer. He has enough stone for the castle now, and as TaToH is dropping barracks, prepping for pikemen, if Camel Archers are out there, pikemen might kind of miss their timing.
Yeah, that's a forward castle from Viper. He's sending his speedy villagers forward. Berbers with wheelbarrow. And once you get a lot of Camel Archers out, Persians without Bracer can struggle to clear them.
I think TaToH spotted that with that camel. Maybe he would have seen the vills, but he didn't see the foundation.
It was close. But he doesn't seem to be reacting to it right now.
Yeah.
Viper's going to push up the middle with some cav while also getting that castle up. Now, the castle being forward does mean Viper is vulnerable to being raided at his own base, but he's going to try to apply so much pressure to TaToH that he's not going to have to worry about raids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. I would like to see lots of Camel Archer production, and normally I wouldn't want a forward castle for that. But the positioning on the map is so critical for long-term gold. I don't hate it for that reason. And he's also going to have another castle soon. He's going to have 2 castles, so he'll probably have one defensively, and then that's double Camel Archer production.
Yeah, and Viper has so much map control now.
What a start, though. Like, he set up this game so wonderfully. Big fight here. Devotion is in for Viper. It looks like all the monks are just going to be cleared out, but Viper sees exactly what he wants to see. A hard commit onto pikemen. And TaToH sees exactly what he doesn't want to see.
Castle.
A second castle right on the hill.
I was wondering where he was going to place it, but there's no army from TaToH to stop that. Viper with, what's that, 6 villagers? 5 villagers? Can you just add it in?
That's so brutal for TaToH.
Even feels like a position. Maybe TaToH could have even tried to tower to deny it because there were so few vills.
Well,
but it's going up, and there's nothing TaToH can do about it at this point.
You know what? You can do about it. You'd say, okay, Viper, 2 castles on my face. I'm going to bring 1 to yours because Viper has no defense now, and it will take a long time for the Camel Archers to get here. If TaToH had the stone, I could pretty much guarantee you the vills would be walking across the map right now.
And he does have wheelbarrow now.
Yeah. So he should. We're seeing the army activity flood. That was way back into the game. Maybe a siege workshop on the front and killing Viper's main eco before Viper kills his.
Well, now what do you do against camel archers if you're Persians? What unit can you make that fights them?
Well, you can. They have to hit and run, so you can still take decent enough fights with camels and knights. And then obviously siege can be really helpful. And there's the siege workshop from
There's the
TaToH.
forward workshop.
I don't know if this will work, but this is a great way of countering Viper's current play. I think Viper needs to sense this, though, and he just needs to drop a defensive castle.
Yeah, look at his stone. He almost has another castle already.
He 100% knows that TaToH needs to come kill him, and this is going to get worse. That outpost is evidence of that. But will he wait for the stone? Will he drop it? Looks like he's using the market.
And remember, that TC already does have Bodkin from the camel archers.
Oh, the camel archers are getting poked to death. Viper's under a lot of pressure right now. Reminder that if Viper wins this game,
there are camels in his eco, too.
TaToH is out. Yes, that's a great raid. It's so annoying if you raid with pikemen, funnily enough, when someone's going knights or camels or something.
Especially camels. The pikemen just don't die.
Viper doesn't know there's siege on the way. Is it a mangonel or is it a ram out of that siege workshop? It's a ram!
Rams.
It's a ram! If that's a mangonel, I think the castle could be denied. But TaToH doesn't know.
TaToH was going for the TC. He wanted to go in for the kill there with all the knights he has.
Oh, ram. That's crazy. He could win the game with a mangonel. Now, I mean, you can try and ram down the castle. Why not? Why not?
I mean, he has a lot of knights there to protect to protect the rams against villagers. But I think you need to get 3 or 4 rams before you start going for the castle. You can't just go with 1 or 2.
Look at Viper's camel archers right now. This is so funny. The way they're being sent over here is just hilarious to me. They're produced from so far away.
And they're coming back.
And like, honestly, if Viper would have gone for the forward castle and then a castle at his base, he's still more than fine. But you know what's better than that?
Rams?
It's better to have 3 castles. I mean, TaToH doesn't feel like he can make a lot of progress right now, I think. That's the issue. Because if you make a move underneath that castle, with rams, villagers attack it. And then you need all your army there, and that's such a big ball of camel archers. This is looking so good for Viper.
Yeah. I feel like if TaToH has a chance, he needs to force a fight somewhere with the rams, because now Viper can just move the camel archers away. Yeah. He never has to engage directly with them. It's all about what TaToH can do with his army despite the camel archers.
Look how fast these knights are going down. That's absolutely insane. This unit is so strong. Viper might not have the Vil count, but he definitely has the army now, and that's the key to victory. And the Rams go in for the TC. They will accomplish nothing. And TaToH realizes Castle Age ain't it and clicks up to
Imperial Age. Okay, so TaToH adding in more TCs. And it's a good thing he has those Persian TCs. That castle's taking a long time to destroy them.
Is he going to have gold? Like, where can TaToH actively take gold?
There is gold by the coast, so that TC is on a gold. And there is still another gold he's mining and one more in the corner of the map for him. So he still has a few options.
Well, I think TaToH is going to go for probably the best unit for Persians behind the War Elephant, which is way too expensive, in Savar.
And they do have attack bonuses against archers, and could be a unit to use against camel archers, but still can be tricky to force the engagement against how mobile the camel archers are, being able to shoot and fall back.
Now, I've seen this before, and I've seen Savar win, but only if the camel archer player gets a little too cocky and they don't switch into camels as well. Now, I think
Viper might be a player who fits that description.
Well, the thing is, camel archers are so good, you never want to stop making them. It's not a bad play, but I'm just saying, I think maybe if there's any risk here, it's if Viper doesn't also just make regular camels again. It's such a good position, though.
Because you want the camels to be able to fight the Savar and do bonus damage to them.
Yep, and just a meat shield for the camel
and help you take fights where you're not constantly falling back and giving ground to potential rams or other siege.
But with this eco, with this amount of castles, I think Viper will realize he's got so much time. Like, Savar is going to take so many minutes to get to, and that's some of the gold that TaToH needs. The castle will definitely go up. It'll secure Viper more stone and more gold to get all the upgrades and castles he wants. And then TaToH's going to have to break like 5 or 6 castles with only Savar. It's going to be so tough. I guess he will have a
so many camel archers. That's already 36 camel archers for Viper.
I like this move from Viper. 36 camel archers is great, but regular camels in front of them ensures that you win this game. Cavalier's on the way. He sees the stable, so he knows. It's no mystery that TaToH's going to try this.
TaToH still has gold access, taking those 2 golds to the side and into the corner that we looked at. But another castle from Viper. How much stone does this guy have?
Crazy. So well played, man. I mean, this opening was amazing. The follow-up was perfect. He's had some really sharp games today. Really sharp games. And honestly, like, and we don't know what's exactly going to happen here, but you look back and the only game he lost was maybe just some missteps from him in later stages. TaToH with a big attack. Cavalier's in, and Viper isn't fully walled. He has to drop a panic gate there. That might not be enough, so units he'll have to chase now.
And he has to throw up a panic TC in the corner as some Trebs are pushing him on the front.
Yeah.
Those Trebs might take out some of those forward castles.
This is good from TaToH because this just gets really messy right now, and when games are messy, it's really good to be the knight player. One knight in the corner of someone's eco unchecked can kill everything, but Viper has checked everything. His villagers will be protected there. He's doing his best to protect that castle, which he has to repair, and now heavy camel on the way.
Yeah, and cheaper heavy camels for the Berbers. They'll heal over time. And Viper still feels like he's in a good position with his army composition and his map control.
And TaToH doesn't have the resources for Savar. If he were to wait for Savar, he would be stuck on only 20 Cavalier. So he has to keep producing to just try something. And if you go for your best option against the camels, the camel archers are the problem. So it is just truly, it feels like an absolute civ win if you get to this stage of the game. But the thing is, Persians never let you get to this stage of the game because they usually have such an early lead.
Yeah, and TaToH did not have that early lead. Even though there were times where he still had that better eco than Viper, it just wasn't better enough against this army composition.
Yeah, and Viper's military count's climbing. This is all before he gets elite camel archer. TaToH needs something now. He tries to engage. He does surround the camel archers, so this could be a clear up for TaToH. He'll take one castle down. The camel archers will die.
And he should get the next castle too. That is a great fight.
It's a really good
He's
fight.
hitting the repair villagers, and he'll kill 2 Trebs too.
Wow, TaToH 160 pop.
Alive.
Yeah, I just wonder if in Viper's mind he's thinking, how is he getting gold? This makes no sense. And if he's checking for that right now, I think that's all of it. Like, all that gold is pretty much it. And
well,
if Viper finds that, TaToH will have 0 on gold.
Yeah, well, TaToH's on a timer, right? He needs to clear those castles in the north just to access more gold before the golds in that corner run out.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's doing it. The map is so big, just like in that second game, it's hard to be everywhere all at once.
Yeah, Viper is sending his camels to where his castle's going down. Remember, it's a pretty big deal to lose 2 castles when you're going camel archers. But I think TaToH knows, and TaToH calls it. Viper stays alive, and unfortunately knocks out a fan favorite in TaToH. What a tournament from TaToH. But for him, going up against the Snake today, it was a good performance, but just not good enough because Viper played insane.
And that was absolutely amazing with the Vil fight at the start of that game.
That was so good, dude.
Everything worked out perfectly. Like 3 games that he won were absolutely clean. They weren't close at all. He made them clean.
And by his standards, he probably threw the only game he lost, right? Like just over-making Paladins there, I think maybe it was always going to be difficult. But yeah, I mean, that's what you want, man. Like, Viper you could arguably say just like was 4-0 up in a best of 5, right? Just because that one game was shaky. So great signs for Viper fans. I think the critique for me with Viper the last 2 years has been his openings have been like kind of lazy and lackadaisical. They haven't been sharp. He hasn't had like the swift follow-up to the initial attack. And then oftentimes he falls back into a state where he's not controlling the game with military and he's just trying to boom and adapt. When that happens, he struggled. This is great signs going forward for the Viper. I'm really excited to see more from him.
This is, and I'm really looking forward to hear what he has to say, as it looks like he's throwing him into the door right now. I mean, the crowd's cheering as he walks up to the steps.
Yep.
And there he is.
Yeah, I'll be listening very intently on what Viper has to say on any questions on the Fortress game. And
the Revolution.
We'll see what he has to say about that.
I'm interested to see what Jordan has to ask him.
Oh, true. I'm sure Jordan's going to be loading up lots of questions. But, folks, thanks so much for watching. That was, believe it or not, the first series of the day. So thanks for supporting the event so far. You'll hear lots of different ways you can support the event. Look down below the channels if you want any info on that. But T-West, good cast, man. I had a good time,
That was good
bro.
first set.
Yeah, good warm-up for the day, right?
Yeah. All right, and I think Viper's ready, and we're going to have an interview.
Thank you, boys. Fantastic cast. You were just a little bit delayed because you needed to judge Jordan's handwriting. We'll get to that later. But Viper, once again, congratulations. Fantastic series. An interesting matchup, I feel like, because TaToH, correct me if I'm wrong, he's your most frequent scrim partner?
Recently, yes.
Yeah. So how did you feel going to the series with that in mind? Because it kind of feels like he knows everything you're going to do. Did you feel like you had to get very creative in this one?
I think we both had, right? We have some things that we agreed, like, let's not use this against each other, because maybe we can use it in a later round. But that's the thing, right? When you meet someone you're training with, it just becomes so much mind games, like which shiv do I pick on this? I know he likes to play that on this map or this style, so I try to figure out the counter to that, and eventually you just kind of have to go with your gut instinct, and today it worked out for me.
I think the last few times you've met up, he's always taken one game off you, but you've taken the series in the end. You know, it kind of feels like a little bit of a pattern developing there. Do you think it's a playstyle clash? Do you just feel like you're leveling up once again to a whole new level?
I think we're so close. I think it's whoever has the best day, essentially. Whoever honestly, like who wins the draft, maybe. Like it's so close, and when we're training as well, like we know each other so well. So it's like whoever has the best day and gets the best draft, I think more often than not will come out on top.
Now, talking of people who seem to be performing their best, you know, we didn't get a chance to get your opinion on Yo after the series yesterday. I know you just had a win. I'm looking for the sting on the other side. You know, does he look like maybe the biggest threat right now to Hera? Because like Olympus, we always have to talk about who can actually take down Hera. Is it you? Is it Yo? Like, is there someone in your mind that has the killer instinct?
I think if Jordan is back, he will be the one. Sorry, no, okay, let's be serious. Yo is one of the guys that are really hard to face because he is so unpredictable, and that is both a strength and a weakness sometimes for him. But yeah, he's one of the guys who probably historically have taken more sets from Hera the last couple of years in various tournaments. So yeah, probably one of the guys that can do it.
Yeah, I think it's like a 65% win rate, which, I mean, against Hera is actually, like,
not bad.
You've kept him down, right? Like, you've kept him low, only given him just past half. But you know what? You were so great on the last segment. I want to help you. I want you to help me, rather.
Surfshark.
Talk about no.
Oh, another one.
How have you been enjoying the desks?
Dude, the desks are so nice because I can like take them up and down however I want, and like you just plug in the. It's so easy to construct as well.
Yep.
Because why are you guys laughing?
Yeah, they're laughing because they're jealous. You got the best desk.
Yeah, there's a lot of space as well, so you can maneuver around everything how you want it. You can even have like this cable management system behind as well. And I think it's because they are elite desk.
Did you know, like, so we've been doing different measurements. So far we calculated it can hold 1.6 nillies. I believe it can hold...
Wait, how did you find that out?
I'm occasionally good at math.
No, but like, did the table break?
No, because like they can hold about 120, 128 kilograms. So like we just weighed up nearly. He even double checked it because when I said it, he was like, "Yes, that sounds about right."
Yeah, of course.
So I think I don't know. I reckon that can take about 1.8 Jordans. I think you weigh less than Nilly. Yeah.
Half a doubt.
Because you're healthy and Nilly's got the beer belly. 85 kilos.
Is
okay,
this supposed to be on camera?
Yeah, he's coming back and forth. We're making him work for it. But no, guys, if you want to check out Lead Desk, you've been enjoying the stage for good reason. It also comes with a bunch of different modular things. So like you can have your PC attached that moves up and down. You can have a monitor mount, a laptop mount. I think they may have mentioned about a cup holder to me, which is always novelty. But
probably. And Lead Desk has been supporting other Age of Empires events as well. And I actually have a Lead Desk at home.
There you go. He's my perfect candidate to talk to you about it. So guys, if you want to check it out, ! Elite Desk in the chat. But I think now it's time to get the Elite's opinion on his games and his performance.
Someone else is coming, or?
Come on.
I think I can go. Like yesterday at the casting. Viper, congrats for this good joke. And your play was not too bad as well. So let's jump into the analysis. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, you saw my notes, so I don't have to add anything, right? You can just answer.
Okay, but maybe the audience wants to know.
True. Okay, so literally, first game, Outcrop, you were Khmer, we had TaToH with Saracens. You have been playing against him a couple of times already as he was Saracens. He was up to cast stage very fast. Were you scared of some scary shenanigans, like a siege workshop, a forward or something like that?
Yeah, I was using my scouts very actively. By the way, guys, Jordan's note says TaToH very fast castle. That's to Jordan's notes on this game.
I know, but it worked.
Anyway, no, yeah, I was using my scouts actively on the map as he hit Castle Age to see if there was a forward seed workshop.
Yep.
As long as there was no forward seed workshop, I felt like I was going to be fine because I mean I can always hide in houses with Khmer and I was making a crossbow mask myself to like not lose initiative and map control. So yeah, it was a very fast castle.
Yes, thank you. But you were still confident and were not scared at all. Also, what I noticed is that you went for very fast ballistics upon reaching Castle Age.
Yeah.
I felt like that damages your economy a lot. Do you still think it's good to go for it because you have more safety in terms of army, or would you do it differently in hindsight?
I won the game, Jordan. Of course I would.
What else can I ask, right?
No, like cowards have mobility, right? So
Yeah.
I want to be able to pick him apart from distance whenever I can. Otherwise, he's just going to run away from me the whole game, and I'm chasing and not getting any damage. So no, I think ballistics was important for me to feel safe and comfortable, and also be able to like move out on the map a little bit.
Okay, I think that's the reason why you're the player and I'm here.
Is the elite
You know
still
better.
coming or?
What? Delete? Okay. We also have a very interesting game here. So initially we had the scout conversion. What was that? Like, that was so quick. Were you still charging?
Yeah, it was change. Like I was converting it for a couple of seconds beforehand.
Ah,
It was like I was still
okay.
following and doing the conversion from afar.
Okay, because we were all a little bit, surprised by the fact that it was so quick. So, in that regard, TaToH was pushing very fast with the Imperial Age.
Yeah.
You made a very interesting decision. You went for counterattack instead of pushing back with siege. What went through your mind? Why didn't you want to go with the direct counter on his push, but you went for the counterattack onto his base?
Well, his weakness with Bohemians is mobility, right? And he made a forward base with not too many buildings. I felt like, okay, if he invests army there, then for sure he will not have too big of an army at home. So to target at home. So I was like, okay, let's do a counterattack. And his push was fairly slow, so I thought I could still defend with reinforcements regardless. It just felt like a natural decision.
Okay. Can you... Yeah. Okay. Also, a question I had, I felt like you built way too many paladins. The initial ones felt very good because you were able to get map control, snipe a lot of siege.
Yeah.
But after that, it felt way too much. I think adding hand cannoneer would have been better. What do you think?
I agree with that.
Yes!
I think I should have gone monk there as well, and made more bomber cannons myself. At one point, Paladin was just diving in, and Bohemian with the bonus damage, and Burgundian is also lacking bloodlines. They're good in the opening, but yeah, I probably made too many of them. But yeah, at the mid game somewhere there, I just fell completely apart.
Yeah.
I don't really know what happened suddenly. Like I couldn't kill a single Hoofnitze, and the Halbs were like TaToH is so good at that defending Hoofnitze, and he also does a very smart thing of bringing Vils along with the army to always repair.
Yeah.
And those Hoofnitze. After we nerf Scorpions, we can nerf Hoofnitze a little bit as well.
They're scary. Once you have Halberdiers and a couple of mass of them, it's kind of impossible to fight against. Last question regarding this game, I obviously have to ask. There was a back and forth all the time. It felt like you were dead, then you were pushing back. You had a couple good 2-3 minutes, and then all of a sudden you decide to go for Flemish Revolution. What went through your mind there?
I felt like I was dying slowly, so I was like, okay, maybe I can do Flemish Revolution and all his siege. Like reset the completely, and then kind of like I still have 4 relics. I have gold from farming, so maybe I could then make a switch like something like hand cannons and so forth. But I still didn't get enough value, and also I forgot to do upgrades for the infantry before I did the tech. So
we noticed.
Yeah.
That was painful.
Yeah, and also I what's the word? I completely forgot what I was about to say.
Spires, or
oh, those as well, yeah.
Or having siege yourself in order to push
Yeah,
back.
no, I didn't need siege because I know I took out all his castles except in his base. So like for me it was like I'm just gonna take out buildings and everything with the Flemish militia. Oh yeah, I think I sold too much food in the market before this happened.
Yeah, because it was hard for you to reboom, right?
Yeah, I should have also added. I should have added maybe 2 or 3 more TCs as well before I did it.
Yeah.
TaToH was super annoying going around just sniping town centers.
Yeah,
that was actually a weakness of mine, so that was fun.
Yeah, it was such a great game to watch. Like both of you have really shown everything you had, and it was a close one for sure. Game number 3, that was one of the better games I saw you play because you played aggressive. Really aggressive, no greed, aggressive.
Guys, Jordan all the time tells me he loves when I play aggressive, and he doesn't understand why I always play greedy.
I do, because I feel like every time you play aggressive, more aggressive than standard,
Yeah.
you most of the time always are in a better position than playing the greedy stuff. And especially when you were adding the Siege Workshop here in Castle Age, that was like, okay, he's definitely having control of the game.
Yeah.
What made you add the Siege Workshop instead of adding the town centers? What went through your mind there?
I mean, I did a TC as well at the same time. I did both, Jordan.
You can do both, right? Why don't you do it more often then? That's the question.
No, it's a little bit the same matchup as well, right? I'm against Romans here. I think long-term probably Romans scale better. Although I'm not 100% sure, because I still have bomber cannons, hand cannoneers, siege engineers. I'm not sure, but Romans help Scorpion. It feels scary no matter what civ you are. So I wanted to try and be a bit aggressive, and I felt like I had good initiative in the game. And I mean, Franks is one of the best civs to play like that. No, you love to play. Franks
What
like
about
that.
Frank's Viper? That's always a good civ to pick. Finally, we go into game number 4. We had Coastal Mountain, Berbers against Persians, and what have you done to TaToH at the start? Like, do you feel bad, or are you feeling a little bit of a satisfaction there?
Very much satisfaction. But I also told TaToH, we have played this match, obviously. I told him this is a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was obviously very fortunate that I ran right into his village. My idea was that, okay, he starts building the dock and I'll like quickly jump on top of him and wall myself in with his villager. But yeah, this was even better. So yeah, it just worked out.
That was just perfect. And
Yeah.
it felt like mid-feudal age, you won the game because you killed so many villagers of him. Also, you forced him to build a tower.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he manages to equalize the game. So that was very well done by him. Last question I have regarding this game. So with Berbers, usually with Camel Archers, you should be in a great position. If you have that unique unit, which is stronger, you have the tendency to build the castles defensively to not risk losing the castles, right?
Yeah.
You went for aggressive castles. Why is that?
To make it tougher for him to play, and I knew he had a TC there. And his army and monks were in the middle of the map on the bottom, so I knew I could drop the castles here safely. And I mean, like, who wants a castle in their face like that?
So you were not scared of him being up to Imperial Age faster and trap
even if he was, I wouldn't matter in my opinion, because I would have such a healthy mass. I mean, he went bigger castlage, right? So it played out a bit different. That's what caught me a little bit off guard, like when suddenly all the pikes came through the middle and the knights and everything. So that's where he made it a little bit messy for me, but yeah, I felt like I was in still such a comfortable spot throughout.
Awesome. Yeah, very good. Last question, Viper. Do you feel like today was the best day in terms of performance for the last 3 days?
Yeah, for sure. My setup is way better today. Like in the last 2 days, I've had the monitors, with the feet where they into, and that's been messing with my keyboard position. But now they gave me a good monitor, because Hart got eliminated, so I got his monitor. That's awesome. Sorry, Hart.
I saw the offer from him yesterday. You can take mine now.
And they also gave me a different pair of headphones for noise cancelling. Oh my god, it's so much better. After the second game, dude, my head was exploding.
Okay, perfect.
Don't wear glasses, guys. It's hard.
Yeah, it's not ideal, especially if you have those headsets pressuring there. Yeah.
But point being, that definitely helps to perform better when your setup is more aligned with what you have at home. So thanks a lot to the production for making that happen so quickly.
Great. We saw the quality increase from your play. Okay, Viper, thank you so much for your insights. It was very informative, and we will switch
to what?
We will switch over to KP onto the stage with TaToH.
Thank you, boys. Fantastic analysis. Round of applause for the man, TaToH himself. Joining me on stage to talk for the last time in this particular tournament. First of all, fantastic games we've seen out you so far. We've got to dissect into. I mean, Viper, he does have a favorable win rate against you, but I was talking to him up there a little bit about it. Do you feel like this was your toughest opponent because of how much you practiced together?
I mean, for sure, it matters that I practice with him because I cannot show, or if I do what I practice with him, he will know. So I need to prepare for that. And yeah, like it's really tough always to face Viper. We practice together a lot, and he knows everything.
Have you felt like your performance has been improving over time? Because I know, like, we look at the results, we talk about Hera all the time. He's ahead of the pack. Do you feel like people are closing in and you're one of them?
I think it depends on how good is the preparation. Like on meta, I don't think I'm getting closer. But if there are things that you can prepare and practice and try to surprise him, maybe it's the highest chances you can get to beat him.
Now, I noticed you've been growing the hair out. Like, at what point does it get long enough to give, like, I don't know, a +2 buff to you, right?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for it.
You need to get to that length where you just flick your hair, and then Viper just looks across, gets distracted, you run him through.
Yeah. It will take some time still.
He was cheeky as well. Halfway through, when you had a little break, he came out and he ate a meatball. I said meatball buff straight away. I knew it. It gave him the edge. But, you know, what have you been thinking of the crowds here so far? I want to get your opinion on the event, because you've been around a lot of lands at this point. How does this rate?
It is amazing. Like, to be honest, when I'm playing, I'm not even noticing that there's people. I try to focus on my game and not be distracted, but this is probably the closest we have been for like a real like e-sport like a scene, right?
Yeah.
And experience. And for us, I think it's amazing to have all the crowd.
Now, you can do that louder, because did you not just hear him? He's able to ignore you. You need to get loud. Come on!
Exactly.
That's undeniable. As is the joy of having you on stage, my friend. Commiserations on the loss, but I look forward to seeing more in the future.
Thank you so much.
One more time!